Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Cryptic Corpse. I am your storyteller, and I'm here to guide you tonight. I know many of you use these videos to drift off to sleep, so before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'm always curious, where are you watching from, and what time is it in your part of the world? Now find your cozy spot and relax. My name is Vincent Morrowfield. I'm 38 years old, and I'm standing at the edge of a valley that's been calling to me my whole life, even when I tried not to listen. The wind feels different here in Glacier National Park. It whispers things, names, mostly. My grandmother's name, Ayana, my great-great-grandmother's name, Morning Star, and sometimes when the wind blows just right through the trees, I swear I hear my wife Catherine's voice too. But Catherine is dead. She died 3 years ago when I crashed our car, driving away from the university hearing where I lost everything. I was drunk. I was angry. I was a coward. The accident was my fault. I wasn't always like this. I used to be Dr. Vincent Morrowfield, respected archaeologist with a promising career, quarter Blackfeet by blood. But I pushed that part of me down deep where it wouldn't get in the way of success. My grandmother, Ayana, was kicked out of the reservation for marrying my white grandfather. I guess running from our culture runs in the family. You remember what I taught you, little bird? I freeze. The voice is so clear, like she's standing right behind me. I don't turn around. I know my grandmother isn't there. She died when I was 20. But I remember her hands guiding mine, teaching me how to handle the bones of the dead with respect. How to speak the old prayers, how to honor those who came before. I remember, I whisper, though I've spent years pretending to forget. My hands feel strange as I unpack my equipment. The camera that was hers, the old leather bag of tools. My fingers are permanently stained with developing chemicals that won't wash off no matter how hard I scrub. Sometimes I catch my reflection in store windows or lake surfaces, and my eyes look wrong somehow. In photographs, they reflect like an animal's. I arrange my archaeological tools on the ground. The metal pieces taste like copper when I touch them to check their edges. I've always had this weird thing where I can taste metal just by touching it. Another gift from my grandmother, I guess. What are you doing here, Vincent? I ask myself out loud. The truth stings. I'm here because I have nowhere else to go. 3 years ago, I was caught falsifying evidence about Anasazi artifacts. I wanted to prove they were more primitive than they really were. I wanted my white colleagues to pat me on the back and tell me how smart I was for proving what they already believed. I wanted to belong with them more than I wanted the truth. They found out. They took my job. They took my reputation. Then I took Catherine's life with my reckless driving. Now I'm back where my grandmother's people buried their dead for centuries. I tell myself I'm here to document the site properly, to honor my heritage. But deep down, I know I'm hoping for one last academic paper, one piece of evidence that might let me back into the world I betrayed my ancestors to be part of. I set up my tent as the sun begins to set. The mountains around me look like sleeping giants. My grandmother used to tell me they were our ancestors, turned to stone while watching over us. Respect the dead, little bird, her voice whispers in my ear. They are never truly gone. I pretend not to understand the Blackfeet words, even though they're as clear to me as English. I've spent too long denying that part of myself. As darkness falls, I take out Catherine's photo. In it, she's smiling, her dark hair blowing in the wind. She was part Cherokee, though I rarely acknowledged that either. 2 Native Americans trying. So hard to fit into a white academic world that we nearly erased ourselves. I'm sorry, I tell her picture. I'm going to make things right. But even as I say it, I taste the lie on my tongue. It tastes like bone dust and shame. Tomorrow, I'll enter the valley where my ancestors are buried, where my own blood lies beneath the earth. I'm going to photograph it all, document it all. I tell myself It's to preserve our history. But the wind knows better, and so do I. I wake up before the sun. The air is cold and smells like pine and something else I can't name, something old. My watch says 5:30 a.m., but time feels strange here. I pack up my tent and gather my equipment. Grandmother's camera hangs heavy around my neck. Today, I meet my ancestors, I whisper, trying to sound brave. The path into the valley seems to appear right in front of me, like it was waiting for me to find it. Small stones mark the way, arranged in patterns I remember from my childhood. Grandmother called them spirit markers. They show the way to sacred places. The land knows your blood, little bird, Grandmother's voice says on the wind. I follow the stone path down into the valley. The morning fog curls around my ankles like fingers trying to hold me in place. But I keep walking. The valley opens up before me, a wide space surrounded by tall pines and rocky cliffs. And everywhere there are small piles of stones, burial markers, hundreds of them. My heart beats faster. This is it, the ancient burial ground of my people. My own family lies here somewhere. Hello? I call out, then feel silly. Who would answer? But the valley itself seems to respond. The fog shifts and parts, creating a clear path through the markers. It's like the land is welcoming me home. I take out my notebook and begin to write. Date, time, location, basic observations. I'm trying to be professional, but my hands are shaking. Then I see it. A burial marker different from the others. Larger stones arranged in a star pattern. Morning Star, my great-great-grandmother's name. I kneel beside it, my fingers hovering over the stones, but not touching. Grandmother taught me never to disturb a burial marker. I found you, I whisper. For the first time in years, I feel something like peace, like I belong somewhere. The weight of my failures, the fake evidence, Catherine's death, my lost career, feels lighter here. I take out Grandmother's camera and begin to photograph the marker. Through the viewfinder, I notice something strange. The stones seem to glow slightly, but only when seen through the camera. I snap the picture. The camera clicks, and somewhere, in the distance, I hear a sound like bones knocking together. More words come to my lips, Blackfeet words I haven't spoken since I was a child. Nitsi tapi kainai kawan, I say, and though I've tried to forget what it means, I know. I am of the blood. To my surprise, the next photos I take are clearer, sharper. It's like the land responds to the old language. I spend the morning documenting the site, finding more markers, noting their positions and patterns. I begin to see a design in their arrangement, a sacred geometry I somehow understand without being taught. By midday, I've mapped a quarter of the valley. I'm making good progress. My academic mind is already writing the paper, imagining the praise, the possible job offers. Morrowfield discovers ancestral Blackfeet burial ground, the headlines would read. I eat a quick lunch, just an energy bar and some water, then continue working. The sun is warm, but the air stays cool in the valley. Perfect working conditions. As I photograph a cluster of markers, I notice more of them appearing in my viewfinder. Markers I hadn't seen before with my naked eye. They form a path leading deeper into the valley. Are you showing me the way? I ask aloud. The wind picks up, blowing my hair back from my face. It feels like a gentle push forward. I follow the new path, taking pictures as I go. Each step feels important, like I'm walking a road my ancestors walked before me. Then I find it, a circle of large stones surrounding a flat rock. In the center of the flat rock is a handprint carved into the stone. It's small, like a woman's hand. Without thinking, I place my hand over it. It fits perfectly. A chill runs through my body, not scary, just intense, like something recognizing me. Ayana's boy, the wind seems to say. Blood of morning star. My eyes fill with tears. For the first time in decades, I don't feel like an imposter. I don't feel caught between two worlds. I feel like I've come home. I spend the rest of the day documenting this sacred spot. My photographs are turning out better than any I've ever taken. The images are crisp, the light perfect. When I check them on my small viewing screen, I notice strange patterns of light around the stones, like auras. Spirits, I whisper, remembering grandmother's teachings. As the sun begins to set, I set up my tent near Morning Star's marker. I know you're not supposed to sleep in burial grounds, but I feel safe here, protected. In my tent, I look through the day's photographs. In some of them, I see faint shapes behind the markers, like people standing guard. In one, I swear I can see a woman with long braids and my own eyes looking back at me. I should be scared. Instead, I feel a growing confidence. My ancestors are helping me. They want their story told. They're guiding my work. I fall asleep with the camera clutched to my chest, dreaming of stone markers that rearrange themselves into messages I can almost read. But as I drift deeper into sleep, I hear it again. That sound of bones clicking together like someone counting beads on an abacus. And it's getting closer. I wake up to a different kind of silence. The birds aren't singing. The wind isn't blowing. Even the air feels still, like it's holding its breath. My watch says 6 a.m., but when I look again a minute later, it says 5:59. I tap the glass. It must be broken. Outside my tent, the morning fog is thick. I can barely see 10 feet ahead, but through the mist, I notice dark shapes moving. Two big to be birds, too quiet to be people. "Hello," I call out. The shapes stop moving. Then one of them makes that sound again, the click, click, click of bone against bone. A voice speaks, but not in English. Not even in Blackfeet. The words sound like stones grinding together. "You taste like us, but smell like them." I blink, and the shapes are gone. My heart pounds in my chest. Was I still dreaming? I make coffee on my small camp stove, trying to steady my hands. As I sip the hot drink, I look through yesterday's photographs again. In the morning light, they look different. The strange lights around the stones are more obvious now. And in one photo of Morning Star's marker, I see a woman standing behind it, her face half hidden by shadow. She looks like grandmother. "Ayana," I whisper. The photo doesn't change, but the air around me grows colder. "Kist Sikomiyipi," a voice asks. "Do you remember?" It's grandmother's voice, speaking only in Blackfeet now. She's asking if I remember the old ways, the proper respect for the dead. "Ah," I say. "Yes." But even as I say it, my eyes drift to my research notes, to the academic paper forming in my mind, to the fame that could come from a major discovery. I pack up my gear and head deeper into the valley. Today, I want to document more than just the surface markers. I want to see what's beneath them. The thought makes my stomach twist. Grandmother would be horrified. "Never disturb the resting places," she always said, but I'm an archaeologist. This is what we do. We uncover the past. "For whose benefit?" grandmother's voice asks in my head. "For science," I answer aloud. "For knowledge." The fog parts as I walk, revealing more burial markers. Some are clearly very old, the stones weathered by centuries of wind and rain. Others look newer, perhaps only decades old. I find a small marker that's partially collapsed. Perfect. I can examine it without feeling like I'm disturbing anything that's still intact. I set down my bag and take out my small folding shovel. Just a little excavation, I tell myself. Just enough to see what's underneath. The first shovelful of dirt feels heavier than it should. The second makes my arms ache like I'm lifting rocks instead of soil. By the third, I'm sweating despite the cool air. Something hard strikes my shovel. Carefully, I brush away the dirt. A bone. Small, perhaps from a finger. My training kicks in. I photograph it in place, measure its position, make notes. I'm being professional, respectful. But when I reach to pick it up, my own fingers begin to hurt. Not badly, just a dull ache in the joints I've never felt before. I ignore it and continue. More bones appear as I dig. A full hand, part of an arm. I document everything meticulously. When I check my watch, it's moving backward again. 10:15, 10:14, 10:13. The fog grows thicker around me, but only around me. The rest of the valley is now clear in the midday sun. I take more photographs. When I check them on my camera screen, I see something disturbing. In each new picture, the bones I've uncovered are arranged differently than they were when I took the shot. In one photo, the finger bones are spread out. In the next, they're curled into a fist. And in the latest photo, my own hands look strange. My fingers seem longer, the joints more pronounced. Like the bones inside are trying to push through the skin. You're imagining things, I tell myself. But when I flex my hands, the joints pop loudly. That bone-clicking sound comes again, closer now. I look up. At the edge of the fog stand three figures. They're tall and thin, their bodies wrapped in what looks like old leather. Their faces are hidden by hoods, but where their hands should be, I see only bones. Clean white bones that click together when they move. Bone collectors, I whisper, remembering a story grandmother told me once. Spirits who gather the bones of those who violate sacred places. One of them steps forward. Vincent, it says, my name sounding wrong in its grinding voice. Son of Jacob, son of Ayana, blood of Morning Star. I try to stand, but my legs won't move. You dig where you should pray, the figure says. You take what you should honor. I'm documenting the site, I stammer, for preservation, for history. The figure tilts its head. For whom? Before I can answer, the fog swirls around them and they're gone. I quickly fill in the hole I've dug, my hands shaking. I've made a mistake. I need to be more careful, but I don't stop. I can't stop. I move to another marker. This one larger, more elaborate, possibly a chief or medicine person. The academic part of my brain is already writing the paper, imagining the conference presentations. This time I don't dig. I just take photographs. But when I check them, what I see makes me drop the camera. In each photo, there's a skeleton, not buried under the marker, but standing beside it. And with each new photo, the skeleton is missing. More bones. First a rib, then an arm bone, then part of its skull. I pick up the camera again with trembling hands and take one more picture of the marker. In this photo, the skeleton has my face, half flesh, half bone, and its ribs are being pulled out one by bony hands. My own chest begins to hurt, a sharp pain under each rib. The wind picks up suddenly, howling through the valley. But it's not just wind, it screams. Men, women, children, all screaming in terror. The air around me shifts, and suddenly I'm not alone. The valley is filled with people, Blackfeet families running, soldiers on horseback chasing them. A massacre from over a century ago, playing out before my eyes. I stand frozen, watching as a soldier raises his rifle toward a woman carrying a child. I want to shout to stop him, but I know this happened long ago. There's nothing I can do. The woman turns, and I see her face. Morning Star, my great-great-grandmother. She looks directly at me, her eyes filled with disappointment. You stand with them now, she says in perfect English. No, I protest. I'm Blackfeet too. I'm your blood. But even as I say it, I realize where I'm standing, next to the soldiers, not with my people. In my mind, I hear myself explaining away the massacre as historical context in a lecture hall full of white students. The vision fades, leaving me alone again in the silent valley. But the pain in my chest remains. I look down at my hands. The joints look swollen, the fingers stiff. When I try to make a fist, it feels like my bones are grinding against each other. My camera lies on the ground where I dropped it. When I pick it up, the metal burns my skin, but leaves no mark. "Catherine!" I call out, suddenly desperate to hear my wife's voice, even though I know she's gone. "Nitsitsini," comes her reply. "But it's not the English word husband," she whispers. "It's the Blackfeet word, one I never taught her, one she never knew." I stumble back to my tent, my research forgotten. Something is very wrong here. The valley isn't welcoming me home. It's judging me. As night falls, I huddle in my sleeping bag, listening to the bone-clicking sounds that circle my tent. They're getting closer, and now I understand what they're saying in their grinding language. Traitor. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have. I wake to the sound of my own name. Vincent, Vincent, Vincent. 3 voices saying it together, each slightly different, like echoes, but not quite. It's morning, but the light in my tent is wrong. It's coming from 3 different suns, casting 3 different shadows. I rub my eyes. That can't be right. When I open them again, the light is normal, but my hands aren't. The skin looks thin, stretched too tight over the bones, and my fingers are definitely longer than they were yesterday. I crawl out of my tent. The valley looks the same, but feels different. The air shimmers in places, like heat rising from hot pavement, but it's cold out. My camera sits on a rock where I don't remember leaving it. When I pick it up, it feels alive in my hands, humming with energy. I turn it on and look at the photos from yesterday. They've changed again. Now each one shows not just this valley, but 3 overlapping images of the same place. Like triple exposure, but clearer. In one version, the burial markers are intact, peaceful. In another, they're broken, scattered. In the third, they're gone completely, replaced by a modern building, a museum. And in every version, there's a man who looks like me. One is praying by the markers, one is digging them up, one is leading tourists through the museum, pointing at bones in glass cases. "What is this?" I whisper. "Kisisovukasit," comes grandmother's voice. "Other worlds." I look up. She's standing at the edge of the clearing, more solid than before, not just a voice on the wind anymore. "Grandmother," my voice breaks. "You see now," she says, still in Blackfeet, "what you have done, what you are doing, what you will do." I don't understand. She points to my camera. "Look again." I scroll through more photos. In each one, the 3 versions of me are making different choices. But always, always, I'm either honoring my heritage or betraying it. There's no in-between, and in most of the photos, I'm betraying it. "This isn't real," I say. "Photos don't work this way." "The camera sees truth," grandmother says, "across all worlds." She steps closer. "The bone collectors harvest souls who betray their blood. Not just in this world, in all worlds." My head hurts trying to understand. "You mean there are other versions of me in other realities?" Grandmother nods. "And most choose as you choose. The white man's approval over the honor of your ancestors." The pain in my chest gets worse. It feels like my ribs are shifting, moving on their own. "What's happening to me?" I gasp. "You are becoming what you have earned," she says. I look down at my hands again. Through the thin skin, I can see the bones moving, restructuring themselves. "Help me," I beg. Grandmother's face softens. "There is one path still open to you. Little bird." She holds out her hand. In it are small pouches of herbs, beads, and what looks like ash. "Perform the burial rites," she says. "Return what you have taken. Pray for forgiveness." I reach for the pouches, but stop. If I do this, if I give up my research, I'll have nothing to show for this trip. No paper, no chance at redemption in the academic world. "I can't," I whisper. "I need this research. It's all I have left." Grandmother's face hardens. "Then you have chosen." She fades away, taking the burial pouches with her. The bone-clicking sound returns, louder now. The three bone collectors step out from behind trees that aren't thick enough to have hidden them. "He has chosen," they say together. I grab my camera and run deeper into the valley. I don't know where I'm going, but I need to get away from them. As I run, the world around me keeps shifting. One moment the valley is pristine, sacred. The next, it's filled with archaeologists digging up graves. Then it's a tourist attraction with paved paths and information signs. I run until my lungs burn, finally stopping by a large burial marker I haven't seen before. This one is different, a cairn of stones nearly as tall as me. Without thinking, I begin to pull stones away. If there's something important buried here, something significant, enough for this large marker, it could make my research even more valuable. As I dig, the pain in my body gets worse. My joints pop and crack with every movement. My ribs feel like they're trying to push through my skin. But I keep digging. Finally, I uncover a small wooden box, perfectly preserved. My hands shake as I open it. Inside are photographs, old yellowed photos of Blackfeet families, and on top is one of my grandmother as a young woman holding a baby. Me, written on the back in her handwriting, "My little bird, may you always remember who you are." I drop the box like it's burned me. This isn't an ancient burial site. This is where grandmother buried our family memories, our history, and I've just violated it. The sky darkens suddenly, though it's only midday. The bone collectors appear, around me, forming a circle. "Now you see," they say, "now you know." The tallest one steps forward. "Vincent Morrowfield, you have chosen the path of betrayal, not just in this world, but in all worlds where you exist." "I didn't know," I protest. "You knew," it replies. "Your blood knew, your bones knew." It reaches out one bony hand and touches my chest. Pain explodes through me. It feels like my ribs are being pulled apart. I fall to my knees, gasping. The world around me is splitting into three again. Three realities, three versions of me, all making the same mistake. "Please," I beg, "give me another chance." The bone collector tilts its head. "There is one path remaining." It holds out a hand. The bones of its fingers are rearranging themselves, forming a small cage. "Bring us what is most precious to you," it says. "Surrender." It willingly. I think of the camera, my research notes, my academic dreams. None of it feels precious anymore. Then I remember the photo of Catherine I carry everywhere, the last picture taken of her before the accident, my last connection to her. With shaking hands, I pull it from my pocket and place it in the bone. Collector's cage-like hand. "Not this," it says. "This is just paper and ink." "Then what?" I cry. "What do you want from me?" "The truth," all three say together. And suddenly I understand what they mean. The truth I've been running from. The truth about who I am, what I've done. The truth about the accident. But before I can speak, the world tears apart completely. The three realities collapse into each, other with a sound like thunder. The ground beneath me cracks, and I fall through darkness. I'm falling through memories, through time. I see myself falsifying evidence, making ancient artifacts look more primitive than they were. I see myself driving away from the university drunk and angry, with Catherine begging me to stop the car. I see the crash, the blood, her still body. And I see what I've tried so hard to forget, that I never survived that crash either. I land hard on cold ground. When I look up, I'm no longer in the valley. I'm standing in a vast, empty space filled with clicking sounds, millions of bones moving on their own, building structures like honeycombs that stretch forever in all directions. "Where am I?" I ask, my voice echoing. "The space between worlds," the bone collectors answer, "where we keep those who betray their blood." I look down at myself. My skin is nearly gone now, showing the bones beneath. They've changed, grown longer, rearranged themselves. "Am I dead?" I ask. "You have been dead for 3 years." they reply. Your body died in the crash with Catherine's, but souls who betray, their blood cannot rest. They come here to be judged. The truth hits me like another car crash. I never came to the valley. My body never left the wreckage. This journey has been my soul's attempt to find peace. What happens now? I ask, my voice sounding more like theirs, stones grinding together. Now you choose your eternity, they say. The bone collectors form a circle around me. In this strange place between worlds, I can see them clearly now. Their bone hands click as they move, but the rest of them isn't what I expected. They're not. Monsters. They look like people. People made partly of bone, partly of shadow, partly of light. And now I understand why they seemed familiar. They're ancestors, not just mine, but ancestors of many tribes, many peoples. What is my choice? I ask, my voice still sounding wrong to my ears. The tallest bone collector steps forward. Become one of us, it says. Help us protect the sacred places across all worlds, or remain as you are, aware but trapped in our keeping. Why would you want me? My words taste bitter. I betrayed my ancestors. I betrayed my culture. Show him, says another collector. The space around us shifts. Suddenly I'm standing in a university lecture hall. I recognize it. It's where I taught before the scandal. But the person at the podium isn't me. It's another Native American professor speaking to a room full of students. Indigenous burial practices were surprisingly sophisticated, the professor says, far from the primitive rituals portrayed in outdated textbooks. The scene changes. Now we're in a museum. Glass cases hold artifacts, pottery, tools, ceremonial items. A tour guide speaks to a group of visitors. These items were repatriated to tribal authorities, the guide explains. We now display only replicas, created with permission, to honor rather than appropriate indigenous culture. Another shift, a different burial ground, a different tribe. But the same bone collectors stand guard, invisible to the living people who walk with respect among the markers. You see, the first collector says, the world is changing, slowly, in some realities faster than others. But there is growing respect for what was once dismissed. And my work, I begin, then stop ashamed. Your work did harm, the collector says bluntly. You know this now. You falsified evidence to make your ancestors seem more primitive. You built your career on their diminishment. Tidum. The truth hurts worse than the physical pain of my transformation. I'd convinced myself I was just giving my colleagues what they wanted to see, but really, I was betraying everything my grandmother taught me. I'm sorry, I whisper, though the words feel small against the weight of what I've done. Sorry is not enough, says the collector. Action is needed, protection is needed. What would I have to do, I ask, as one of you? Guard the sacred places across all realities, guide those who seek knowledge with respect, stop those who would violate or diminish. I think about it. Eternity as a guardian of burial grounds, eternity protecting what I once violated. Would I see Catherine again? The question slips out. Before I can stop it, the collectors look at each other. Then one steps forward, smaller than the rest, with hands that seem more human. Vincent, says a voice I know better than my own. The collector pulls back its hood. I see Catherine's face, still beautiful but changed. Her eyes glow with inner light. Her skin shimmers between solid and transparent. Catherine, I breathe. You're one of them? She nods. I chose this path when we crossed over. I've been waiting for you to find your way here. But why? You never shared my heritage. You weren't... I stop, realizing how little I really knew. I was Cherokee, she says simply. You knew that. You just never wanted to talk about it. Never wanted to acknowledge that part of me, just like you denied that part of yourself. Shame washes over me. She's right. I treated her heritage the same way I treated my own, as something to minimize, to hide away. Our marriage was mixed race, she continues, but not in the way you presented it to your colleagues, not white and assimilated. We were two native people trying so hard to fit into a world that didn't want us. I didn't know, I say weakly. You knew, she counters. You just chose not to see. Just like you chose not to see what your work was doing to our cultures, our history. The other. Collectors click their bone fingers, a sound like soft applause. Now you must choose, the tallest one says. Join us willingly or remain prisoner. I look at Catherine, then at my own hands, now more bone than flesh. The choice seems obvious, but something still holds me back. My grandmother, I say. Is she here too? The collector's part, revealing one more figure. She steps forward, and I know her immediately. Ayana, my grandmother, looking just as she did when I was a child. Little bird, she says, her voice gentle despite everything. You lost your way, but you found it again. That is what matters now. I betrayed everything you taught me, I say, tears falling from eyes I no longer fully have. Yes, she says, simply, but now you can honor it forever. She holds out her hand, flesh, not bone. The choice must be yours, freely made. I look around at this strange place, this dimension of bones and shadows and light, at the ancestors who guard thee, sacred across countless worlds, at Catherine and grandmother waiting for my decision. I think of the valley, of Morning Star's grave, of the places I violated in life and the cultures I diminished for academic applause. I choose to join you, I say finally. I choose to protect what I once harmed. The pain is instant, but different now. Not the agony of resistance, but the sharp clarity of transformation. My remaining flesh falls away like an old coat. My bones restructure themselves, growing longer, stronger. My vision changes. I can see things I couldn't before. Dimensions, folded upon dimensions. And I can see the sacred places, thousands of them, across thousands of worlds. Burial grounds, temples, shrines, places where the veil between worlds is thin, places that need protection. Catherine steps forward and takes my bone hand in hers. The clicking sound is musical now, not frightening. We guard together, she says. Grandmother nods, her approval washing over me like warm sunlight. You have found your true purpose, little bird. What now? I ask, my new voice still strange to me. Now we return you to your post, the tallest collector says. The valley of your ancestors needs a guardian. Many still seek to violate it across many realities. The space shifts again, and we're back in the valley. But I can see it differently now, see all versions of it simultaneously. The sacred, untouched version, the partially excavated version, the museum version, all existing together, all needing protection. Will I remember, I ask, being human? You will remember everything, grandmother says. The joy and the pain, the honor and the betrayal. That is your strength now. You understand both sides. Catherine squeezes my hand, then, let's go. I guard other places, she explains, but we will meet again in the spaces between. One by one, the other collectors fade away, returning to their own posts across the dimensions, until only grandmother remains with me. I am proud of you, Vincent, she says, not for what you were, but for what you have chosen to become. Then, she too is gone, and I am alone in the valley, but not really alone. I can feel them all. The ancestors beneath the ground, the spirits in the air, the other collectors across the dimensions. I take my position beside Morning Star's grave marker. From here, I can watch over all versions of the valley. I can guide those who come with respect. I can turn away those who come to violate. My bone fingers click together as I settle in for my eternal watch. The sound no longer frightens me. It's the sound of counting counting the souls, counting the sacred places, counting the worlds we protect. As night falls in the valley, I hear a sound, a human sound. Footsteps approaching. In one reality, it's a native family coming to honor their ancestors. In another, it's archaeologists with ground-penetrating radar. In a third, it's tourists following a guide. I watch them all, judging their intentions, ready to act if needed. And somewhere, in a reality I can no longer touch, someone is reading this story. Someone is hearing the tale of the bone orchard and the price of betraying one's culture. To them, I say, listen carefully to the night sounds around you. That clicking you hear might not be the house settling or branches against the window. It might be me, it might be us. The bone collectors watching, judging, protecting the sacred across all worlds, including yours. What have you forgotten that your ancestors tried to teach you? What would we find if we looked at your bones? My name is Ruby May Stormcrow. I'm 31 years old, and I'm running. Running from the law, running from my dead husband's family, and running toward the only hope I have left, my Cherokee relatives, somewhere deep in these Appalachian mountains. I touch my swollen belly as I drive. My baby girl kicks against my hand, and I swear I can feel her spelling words against my ribs. Cherokee words my grandmother taught me when I was little. Words of protection, words of fear. It's okay, little one, I whisper. Mama's got you. The bruises on my arms have turned a strange color today. Not the usual purple or yellow, but something between blue and green that shouldn't exist on human skin. I try not to think about it too much. Just like I try not to think about how my belly seems bigger this morning than it was last night. The baby's growing too fast. Everything's happening too fast. 3 days ago, my husband Carl discovered the baby wasn't his. I never told him about the rape. I was afraid of what he'd do. Turns out, I was right to be afraid. The beating started that night. Then yesterday, he came at me with a coat hanger, screaming that he'd cut that bastard out himself. I still taste copper when I remember what happened next. The struggle. The kitchen knife in my hand, the look of surprise in his eyes as the blade went in. I didn't mean to kill him, but I also couldn't let him hurt my baby. I packed what I could after that. My medical bag. I'm a nurse practitioner, or was before all this. Some herbs my Cherokee grandmother gave me before she died. And Carl's pistol. The gun feels heavier every time I touch it, like it's filling up with all my guilt and fear. I was raised between two worlds. My mother taught me Cherokee ways, how to use plants for healing, how to listen to the spirits in the trees. My white. Father pushed me toward modern medicine, science, rationality. Now I don't belong in either world, and I'm stuck somewhere in the middle with a baby who talks to me through her kicks and a dead man's blood on my hands. The taste in my mouth changes from copper to something sweet. Hope, maybe. I can taste. My emotions now. Fear is sour on my tongue. Sadness tastes like ash. Love for my daughter is honey warm. It's getting dark as I turn down a dirt road I don't remember choosing. The trees lean in close, branches scraping the roof of my car like fingernails. My headlights catch on something ahead. Buildings, an old town maybe, a place to rest for the night. We'll be safe here, I tell my daughter, but the kicks against my ribs spell out words that feel like warnings. I've been driving for almost 2 days straight, and I need to sleep. I need to hide. This abandoned place looks perfect. No people to ask questions. No police to recognize my face from the news. As I pull up to what looks like an old company house, I notice something strange about this hollow. The hills curve around it like a cradle, or maybe like a birth canal. The buildings are scattered in a pattern that reminds me of organs in a body. Maybe it's just my tired mind seeing things, but this place feels alive somehow. The house I've chosen stands silent in my headlights, paint peeling, windows dark. But as I turn off the engine, I swear I hear it sigh, like it's been holding its breath waiting for me. Just for tonight, I promise my baby as I grab my bags. Tomorrow we'll find our people. But something tells me this place has been waiting for us, and now that we're here, it might not let us leave. I step out of the car, and the night air wraps around me like a cold blanket. My feet crunch on gravel as I walk toward the house. It's an old mining company house, the kind they built for workers back in the 1950s. The wood looks tired, beaten down by years of rain and snow. "Hello?" I call out, though I know nobody's here. This town has been empty for a long time. As I get closer, I notice something odd. The door isn't locked. It swings open at my touch, like the house is inviting me in. I should be scared, but I'm too tired to care. Plus, my baby is kicking up a storm. She wants to go inside. Okay, I whisper to my belly. We're going in. I click on my flashlight and step into the dark house. The beam cuts through dusty air, but something's not right. There's no dust on the floor, no cobwebs in the corners. This place should be filthy after all these years, but it's clean. The air inside is perfect, not too hot, not too cold. My skin prickles. How is that possible? There's no electricity here, no heating or cooling systems running. I move deeper into the house, into what must be the kitchen. My flashlight catches on a sink, and I gasp when I see clear water flowing from the tap. I didn't turn it on. There shouldn't even be running water in an abandoned town. What is this place? I whisper. My baby kicks 3 times hard, right where my ribs meet. It feels like she's trying to tell me something. I find a bedroom at the back of the house. There's a clean bed with fresh sheets, a crib in the corner that looks brand new. My medical supplies from the car are already laid out neatly on a table, though I know I left them in the trunk. I should run. This isn't normal, but my feet won't move, and my baby has gone quiet, peaceful for the first time in days. The walls around me seem to breathe. In the dim light of my flashlight, I see patterns in the wood grain. Symbols I recognize from my grandmother's teachings. Cherokee medicine symbols, protection signs, healing marks. Grandmother, I whisper, because suddenly I feel her presence, like she's standing right behind me. No answer comes, but the house creaks in a way that sounds almost like a lullaby. A Cherokee lullaby my mother used to sing to me. I sit on the bed, and my whole body relaxes. The bruises on my arms don't hurt anymore. The baby isn't pressing on my bladder. For the first time since I killed Carl, I feel safe. I know I should question all this. The running water, the clean house, the familiar symbols. But I'm so tired, so scared. And this place feels like it wants to help us. Just for tonight. I tell myself again as I lie down on the soft bed. In the morning, we'll figure this out. The house sighs around me, timber settling with sounds like whispered words. As my eyes close, I swear I can hear my grandmother's voice singing a Cherokee protection song, though she's been dead for 5 years. The last thing I notice before sleep takes me is that the walls seem to pulse like a heartbeat, like the house is alive, and maybe it is. I wake up to sunlight streaming through clean windows. For a moment, I forget where I am. Then it all comes rushing back. Carl, the knife, my escape. I sit up quickly, hands going to my belly. My baby kicks softly, as if saying good morning. But something's wrong. My belly is bigger than it was last night. Much bigger. I'm only 6 months pregnant, but I look full term now. That's not possible, I whisper, running my hands over the tight skin of my stomach. A sound catches my attention, humming. Someone's humming a tune in the house. I freeze, listening. It sounds like a woman's voice, soft and low, singing a Cherokee lullaby. "Hello?" I call out, but the humming stops. I get up slowly, my new, bigger belly making me off balance. The house feels different in daylight, warmer, more alive. The walls pulse gently. The wood grain shifting to form patterns that look like Cherokee writing, then fading back to normal wood. In the kitchen, I find fresh water in a pot and wild berries in a wooden bowl. I didn't gather these. I didn't put water in that pot. Is someone here? I ask again. but only silence answers me. My baby kicks hard, spelling out words against my ribs. I place my hand on the spot and close my eyes, trying to understand. It feels like she's saying safe over and over. I eat the berries. They taste sweet and perfect, and drink the water, which tastes oddly like milk. My body feels hungry in a strange way, like I need to give something rather than take something in. As I walk through the house, I notice more changes. The walls have pictures now, not framed photos, but images in the wood itself, like memories pressed into the grain. Cherokee families, children playing. Then the images shift to show something darker. Men with guns, houses burning, people running. I touch one of the images, and suddenly I know what happened here. This was a Cherokee settlement. The mining company wanted the mountain for coal. The Cherokee people refused to leave, so the company men came at night and killed them. Old men, women, children burned their homes, took their land. My stomach turns and the taste of ash fills my mouth. This isn't just a house, it's a grave. The baby kicks again, harder this time, almost painful. I gasp and sit down in a rocking chair that wasn't there before. "What do you want from me?" I ask the house, because I know now that the house itself is alive, watching, waiting. The walls creak, and I hear that humming again, closer now. When I look down at my hands, I notice something strange. My breasts are leaking milk through my shirt, but that's not right. I shouldn't be producing milk yet. I'm not due for months, except my belly says otherwise. I look 9 months pregnant now, ready to give birth any day. A door opens by itself at the end of the hall. A door that wasn't there earlier. Beyond it, I see a room set up like a nursery, with a wooden crib and mobile hanging above it. The mobile is made of small bones and feathers, turning slowly, though there's no breeze. "I don't understand," I say, but part of me does understand. The house wants something from me. The house is hungry. As I stand in the doorway of the nursery, I hear a baby crying. Not my baby. She's still safe inside. But another baby somewhere in the house. The crying sounds desperate, hungry. Without thinking, I find myself walking toward the sound. My shirt is soaked with milk now, my breasts aching to feed something. The crying gets louder as I approach a closet door. I reach for the handle, knowing I shouldn't open it, but unable to stop myself. The baby sounds so hungry, so alone. "It's okay," I whisper, though I'm not sure who I'm talking to. The crying baby, my own unborn child, or myself. "It's okay." I open the door. The closet is dark and empty. No baby, no crib, nothing but shadows. But the crying continues, now coming from behind me. I turn around slowly, my heavy belly making me clumsy. A woman stands in the middle of the room. She's native, with long black hair and sad eyes. She's holding a bundle wrapped in a blanket, and the crying comes from there. The strange thing is, I can see through her, like looking through foggy glass. "You're not real," I whisper, but even as I say it, I know that's not quite right. She's real, just not alive. The ghost woman holds out her bundle to me. The baby inside cries harder, a desperate, hungry sound that makes my milk flow faster. "Feed him," she says in Cherokee. I shouldn't understand. I only know a few words of the language, but somehow I do. "He's so hungry. They didn't let me feed him before they killed us." My hands shake as I reach for the bundle. This isn't possible. Ghosts aren't real, but the baby's cries are real. The milk soaking my shirt is real. And the pain in the ghost woman's eyes is the realest thing I've ever seen. I take the bundle, and it's solid in my arms, heavy like a real baby. When I look down, I see a tiny face, mouth open in a hungry cry. Without thinking, I sit in the rocking chair and open my shirt. The baby latches on and begins to nurse. The feeling is strange, like someone is drawing not just milk, but something deeper from me. Energy, life. But the relief is instant. The baby quiets and the ghost woman smiles. "Thank you," she whispers. "There are more, so many more." He fades away, but as she does, another woman appears in the doorway. She holds a baby too. Behind her, I see more women with more babies. A line of ghost mothers stretching back through the hallway, all with hungry children, all looking at me with desperate hope. I can't feed them all, I say, but my body disagrees. My milk flows faster and my belly impossibly grows even larger. I look down and gasp. My skin is stretched so tight it's almost see-through, and I can see not one baby inside me, but many. Shapes, moving and kicking. The second ghost mother steps forward. "You carry all our children now," she says, "the ones who never got to be born, the ones who died hungry. You are their mother now." I shake my head. That's not possible. But I know it is. I can feel them inside me. Not just my daughter, but dozens of babies, all kicking and spelling words against my ribs. My skin shows symbols now, Cherokee writing appearing and disappearing like ripples in water. The first baby finishes nursing and vanishes from my arms. The second mother steps forward with her child. "How many?" I ask, my voice shaking. "All of them," she answers. "All the Cherokee children who died in this hollow. All the ones who never got to live because the mining men came." As I take the second hungry ghost baby, I notice something else. My arms look older. The skin is looser, with fine lines that weren't there before. I touch my face and feel new wrinkles around my eyes. Each baby I feed is taking something from me, not just milk, but time, life. I'm aging as I feed them. "I'll die," I whisper. The ghost mother nods sadly. We all did. I want to run, to get in my car and drive away from this hungry house and its ghost babies. But my body won't move from the chair, and worse, I don't want to. Deep inside, I feel a pull to these children, a need to feed them, to give them what they never had. The house creaks around me, walls pulsing faster now, like a racing heart. I realize with horror that my own heartbeat is matching it, my body syncing with the house itself. When I look down at my arms, I see thin lines running from my veins into the wooden floor, like roots growing from my body into the house. "What's happening to me?" I ask. The room fills with more ghost mothers, all watching, all waiting with their hungry babies. "You're becoming the mother house," one explains. "The feeding dark, the place where all lost children come to be born." Again! As the second baby finishes nursing, my body shudders with a contraction. But it's not just one contraction. It's many, rippling through me from different directions, like I'm giving birth in multiple times at once. "It's too soon," I gasp. "My baby isn't ready." "She's been ready for centuries," says a voice, and I look up to see an old woman standing in the doorway. Unlike the others, she's solid, real. She looks like my grandmother, but older, more ancient. "You're a storm crow," she says. "Our family has been waiting for you to come home and finish what was started." Another contraction rips through me, stronger this time. The ghost mothers move closer, their hands reaching toward my belly, their eyes hungry and hopeful. I realize then that I have a choice to make. A terrible choice. Another contraction hits me, and I cry out in pain. The old woman who looks like my grandmother kneels beside me. "Do you know why you're here, Ruby May?" she asks. I shake my head, unable to speak through the pain. "You died 3 days ago," she says gently. "When your husband attacked you with that coat hanger, you died and your baby died with you." "No!" I gasp. "That's not true. I killed him. I ran. I drove here." The old woman takes my hand. Her skin feels like paper, dry and thin. "You remember it that way because that's what you wanted to happen. But you never escaped. You never made it out of that kitchen." As she says it, memories flash through my mind, different memories. Carl coming at me with the coat hanger, the struggle, the pain as he forced it inside me, the blood. So much blood. My vision going dark as I reached for the knife too late. "Then what is this place?" I ask. tears running down my face. Why am I here? This is the feeding dark, she explains. The place between life and death, where Cherokee mothers come when they die with unborn children. This hollow has been waiting for you, Ruby May, for a storm crow to return. The ghost mothers crowd closer, their babies crying softly. Your husband, the old woman continues, was a descendant of the mining company men who killed our people. He married you to claim rights to Cherokee mountain land through blood connection. He never loved you. When he found out the baby wasn't his, he wanted to destroy any chance of a new Cherokee generation. I remember now, Carl asking too many questions about my family's land, his anger when I wouldn't sign papers, the way he hated when I spoke Cherokee or used my grandmother's healing herbs. The baby, I whisper, hands on my swollen belly. Is she? She is many, the old woman says. Your daughter carries the souls of all the Cherokee children who never got to live. The mining company didn't just kill our people, they tried to kill our future. They almost succeeded. Another contraction ripples through me, stronger than before. The house shudders with it, walls contracting like a womb. You have a choice to make, the old woman says. You can fight what's happening. Try to keep your daughter for yourself. Try to return to the world of the living, or you can become the mother house, give birth to all the lost Cherokee children, and let them live again through you. But I'll die, I say. She smiles sadly. You're already dead, child, but you can choose what kind of death it will be. A selfish one, or one that gives life back to your people. I look around at the ghost mothers, their faces hopeful and afraid. I think about my own mother, who tried to teach me Cherokee ways. My grandmother, who gave me healing knowledge. My daughter, who spoke to me through kicks and wanted so badly to live. Another contraction comes, and this time I feel something change inside me. My bones shift, making room. My body stretches in impossible ways. What's happening? I gasp. Your body is preparing to birth many, the old woman explains. If you choose to become the mother house, you will give birth to every lost child. Your body will become the new home for all Cherokee children who need mothers. Will it hurt? I ask. She doesn't lie. Yes, it will hurt more than anything, but then the pain will end, and you will be part of something eternal. I close my eyes and feel my daughter kick inside me, not just her, but all of them, all the lost children. They're spelling words against my ribs, but not in Cherokee now. In English, one word over and over. Please. I think about the life I wanted. Raising my daughter somewhere safe, finding my Cherokee relatives, starting over. That life is gone now. It was gone the moment Carl pushed that coat hanger into me, but maybe there's another kind of life I can choose. Yes, I whisper. I'll do it. The moment I say it, the house sighs with relief. The wooden walls pulse faster, and my body responds. Contractions coming quicker. The ghost mothers gather close, their hands gentle on my belly, my shoulders, my head. Sing, the old woman tells me. Sing the birth song your grandmother taught you. I don't remember learning any birth song, but when I open my mouth, the words come anyway. Cherokee words, ancient and powerful. As I sing, the ghost mothers join in, their voices blending with mine. My body changes more rapidly now. My skin becomes like wood grain, veins running into the floor, connecting me to the house. My belly stretches and moves as the babies inside shift and grow. The pain is beyond anything I could imagine, but strangely, I'm not afraid anymore. Each contraction brings me closer to something greater than myself. It's time, the old woman says. Push, Ruby May, push them into the world. I push, and something amazing happens. As the first baby slides from my body, a ghost mother steps forward, arms outstretched. The baby, solid and real and crying, goes into her arms, and both mother and child become solid, real, alive again. I push again, and another baby comes. Another ghost mother steps forward, another family made whole, Again and again I push, birthing children into the arms of waiting mothers. With each birth, I feel myself fading, becoming less solid, more like the house itself. My skin is wood now, my blood is sap, my bones are timber. My daughter, I gasp between contractions. Where is my daughter? The old woman smiles. She's last. She's the one who will close the circle. Hours or days or years pass as I birth child after child. Ghost mothers become real, taking their babies into the world beyond the house. The mining hollow fills with life again, with families, with future. Finally, when I'm almost gone, almost completely part of the house, I feel one last contraction. This is your daughter, the old woman says. What will you choose for her? I look down at the baby in my wooden arms. She has my eyes, my mother's nose, my grandmother's strong chin. She is beautiful and perfect and mine, but she's not just mine. She belongs to all of us. To every Cherokee mother who lost a child, to every child who lost a future. She stays with me, I say, in the mother house to welcome others who come. The old woman nods, approving. Then the circle is complete. You are the feeding dark now, Ruby May Stormcrow, the mother house where all lost children find their way home. As she speaks, the last of my human form melts into the house. I am the walls, the floors, the roof. I am the creaking timber and the warm hearth. I am the safe place where ghost mothers bring their hungry babies. And my daughter, my beautiful daughter, is the heart of it all, beating steady and strong in the center of the house that is now my body. Outside, the sun rises on a hollow filled with life again. Cherokee families walking and talking, children playing. No one can see the house on the hill anymore, though they all know it's there. The mother house, the feeding dark, and if sometimes in the night young mothers hear their babies crying from empty rooms or feel the walls of their homes breathing with a rhythm like a heartbeat, they just smile and whisper thanks to Ruby May Stormcrow, who gave everything so their children could live. And somewhere in a town far away, a woman sits up in bed, suddenly awake, thinking she heard a baby crying from somewhere inside her empty house. My name is Diana Ravenshollow. I'm 43 years old, and I've spent most of my life running away from who I really am. My mother was Navajo, which makes me quarter Navajo, though you wouldn't know it from how I've lived. I became a trauma surgeon, and one of the best, if I'm being honest. But that's not why I'm here in the Utah desert, carrying my daughter's ashes in a pottery jar my grandmother once made. My daughter's name was Emma. She was 7 when she died. 7 years, 3 months, and 12 days. I know the exact time too, but I try not to think about that. I try not to remember her little face turning blue while I fumbled with my phone. Too drunk to dial 911 properly. Too drunk to save her when she choked on that stupid plastic toy. I'd been drinking a lot back then. That's why my ex-husband fought. For custody, and why he was winning. The night Emma died, I'd just come back from a hearing where the judge told me I was unfit to be a mother. I opened a bottle of whiskey instead of watching my daughter like I should have. Sometimes I look down at my hands and see blood, not real blood. The nurses at the hospital would notice that. But I see it. Emma's blood. It appears whenever I think about her, which is all the time. When I look in mirrors, in windows, even in the steel surfaces of my operating room, I see her face looking back at me. My grandmother always said I was turning my back on important things. Diana, she'd tell me, our people have been healing since before your white doctors knew to wash their hands. But I didn't listen. I thought science was better than tradition. I thought my medical degree made me superior to her herbs and ceremonies. That's why I'm here now. In this canyon, where my grandmother once told me Navajo mothers went for vision quests, I need to find Emma. I need to tell her I'm sorry. I've brought her ashes, my medical kit, though what good that will do out here I don't know, and some ceremonial items I barely know how to use. The irony doesn't escape me, a woman who rejected her heritage, now desperately trying to use it to fix what she broke. Sometimes I hear Emma's voice in the wind. She speaks to me in Navajo, words I never taught her, words my grandmother used to say to me. Last week she said Shima, which means my mother. That's when I knew I had to come here. I've spent my whole life saving other people. That's what trauma surgeons do. We repair broken bodies. But I couldn't save my own daughter, and now I can't stop trying to save everyone else, as if that might somehow make up for it. My colleagues say I take too many risks, cross too many boundaries. They're right. Everything I eat tastes like Emma's disappointment. Everything I drink tastes like guilt, but the desert air here tastes different. It tastes like possibility, like maybe, just maybe, there's a way to find my daughter again. As I stand at the entrance to this ancient canyon, I feel something pulling me forward. The walls look almost like a birth canal, leading deeper into the earth. My grandmother would say this is where the mother spirits judge us. I guess I'm about to find out if she was right. The first steps into the canyon feel strange, like I'm walking into a dream. The walls rise up on both sides, red and orange rock that seems to change color as the sun moves. I've been walking for hours now, carrying Emma's pottery jar carefully in my arms. This place is quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It's the kind of quiet that makes you think something is listening to you breathe. I keep looking over my shoulder, feeling like someone is watching me. "Emma?" I whisper, my voice bouncing off the canyon walls. "Are you here, baby?" No answer comes back, but the wind picks up suddenly, swirling dust around my feet in a perfect circle. Not a random pattern, a perfect circle. I've been a doctor long enough to know when something isn't natural. As the sun starts to set, the shadows in the canyon grow longer. I swear some of them move, even when nothing is casting them. One shadow looks like a small child running, but when I turn to look, there's nothing there. I set up my small tent and place Emma's jar carefully beside me. The pottery feels warm to the touch, warmer than it should be after being in my backpack all day. I run my fingers over the designs my grandmother painted, symbols for protection and guidance. That night I can't sleep. The canyon makes noises, not animal noises or wind noises, but something else. It sounds like children playing far away. Sometimes I think I hear Emma's laugh, the one she used when she was really happy. When I finally do drift off, I dream of a woman standing at the far end of the canyon. She's tall and thin, too thin, like someone who hasn't eaten in years. She reaches out her arms to me, but where her stomach should be, there's nothing, just a hollow space, as if someone scooped out her middle. I wake up sweating, even though the desert night is cold. In the morning, I find small footprints around my tent, child-sized footprints that stop and start randomly, as if their maker appeared and disappeared at will. Some lead right up to where Emma's jar sits, forming a circle around it. I pack up quickly and keep moving deeper into the canyon. The walls narrow until I have to turn sideways in some spots to get through. The rock feels warm against my hands, almost like skin. In one place I swear I feel it pulse under my fingers, like a heartbeat. This is just science, I tell myself. Heat expansion, wind erosion, natural things. But then I see it. A small cave opening in the canyon wall. Above it are handprints in red paint, dozens of them. Most are adult-sized, but some are tiny. Baby hands pressed into the stone centuries ago, and scratched below them in fresh marks. That couldn't be more than a few days old is a name. Emma. My heart pounds so hard I can barely breathe. I step toward the cave entrance, and that's when I hear it clearly. Emma's voice, speaking in perfect Navajo. "Shima. Yate. Mother, hello, I've been waiting for you." I stand frozen at the entrance to the cave, torn between running away and rushing inside. The scientific part of my brain says this can't be happening. The mother in me doesn't care. I clutch Emma's jar tighter and step into the darkness. Inside the cave, it's cooler than I expected. I click on my flashlight, and the beam catches something glittering on the walls. Tiny crystals embedded in the rock, that sparkle like stars. As my eyes adjust, I see that the cave opens into a round chamber, almost like a room. "Emma?" I call out, my voice shaking. "Are you here, sweetheart?" A small breeze moves through the chamber, though I can't feel where it's coming from. It carries the scent of sage, the same kind my grandmother used to burn during ceremonies. I set down my backpack and take out the things I brought for the vision quest. My hands move awkwardly as I try to remember what my grandmother taught me so long ago. I arrange a small circle of stones, place sage in a shell for burning, and set Emma's jar in the center. "I'm doing this all wrong," I whisper, feeling tears start to build. "I should have listened to you, grandmother." But as I strike the match to light the sage, the flame grows bigger than it should, catching quickly and sending up a thick plume of sweet-smelling smoke. The rocks beneath me seem to warm up, like they're approving of what I'm doing. I sit cross-legged and close my eyes, trying to remember the prayer my grandmother taught me. The words come slowly at first, then faster, as if someone is whispering them into my ear. Navajo words I haven't spoken in 20 years flow from my lips. That's when I feel it, a small hand on my shoulder. My eyes fly open, but no one is there, yet the feeling remains, a gentle pressure like Emma used to do when she wanted my attention. "I'm here, Mom," says a voice right beside me. Not in my head, in the air next to my ear. I turn slowly, and through the sage smoke, I see a shimmer in the air that almost takes the shape of my daughter. Not solid, not really there, but not completely gone either. "Emma?" My voice breaks. "Baby, is that really you?" The shimmer moves, and I feel something touch my cheek, wiping away tears I didn't know were falling. "You need to remember, Mom," the voice says. "Remember what grandmother taught you about speaking to those who have crossed over." I close my eyes and think back to summers spent on the reservation, sitting at my grandmother's feet as she told stories. She had talked about a special ceremony, one for mothers who needed to speak with children who had left this world too soon. My hands begin to move on their own, arranging and rearranging the items I brought. I take out the small pouch of cornmeal, sprinkling it in a pattern around Emma's jar. I begin to sing a song I didn't think I remembered, a Navajo healing song my grandmother sang when I was sick as a child. As I sing, the air in the cave changes. It feels lighter, cleaner somehow. The weight of guilt that's been crushing me since Emma died lifts just a little, enough for me to take a deep, full breath for the first time in months. Through the smoke, the shimmer grows stronger. I can almost see Emma's face now, her smile, her eyes looking at me without blame or anger. "That's it, Mom," she says. "You're finding the way back." I spend hours in that cave, talking to the shimmer that is my daughter. I tell her how sorry I am, how much I miss her, how empty my life has been without her. The shimmer listens, sometimes moving closer, sometimes fading a bit, but never completely disappearing. As the day fades into evening, I feel something I haven't felt since before Emma died: hope, a tiny spark of it, fragile as a butterfly's wing, but definitely there. I carefully pack up my things as darkness falls, but leave a small amount of cornmeal in the circle. "I'll come back tomorrow," I promise the fading shimmer. As I turn to leave the cave, Emma's voice follows me, softer now. "Be careful, Mom. She's hungry, and she's been waiting a long time for someone like you." I pause at the entrance. Who's hungry, Emma? Who's waiting? But the only answer is the desert wind, picking up as night falls over the canyon. 3 days into my stay in the canyon, everything changes. I've been fasting, drinking only water, and a little tea made from plants I recognize from my grandmother's teachings. My body feels lighter, but my mind feels strange, like I'm half in this world and half somewhere else. I return to the cave each day to sit with Emma's shimmer. Each time, she appears a little clearer, speaks a little longer. But this morning, when I enter the cave, something is different. There are children everywhere. Not real children. I can see through them like they're made of fog. Some wear old-fashioned clothes, some wear nothing at all, and some are wrapped in blankets like newborn babies. They move around the cave, playing silent games, but their eyes all turn to me when I enter. "Mom," they say, not just one voice, but dozens overlapping. "Mom, we're hungry." I back up against the wall, clutching Emma's jar to my chest. "I'm not your mother," I whisper. "I'm only Emma's mother." A little boy with hollow eyes steps forward. He wears clothes that look hundreds of years old. "All mothers are our mothers," he says in a voice too old for his small body. My chest feels strange, warm and tight. I look down and see wet spots forming on my shirt. When I touch them, my fingers come away white. Milk. I'm leaking milk, though I haven't nursed a baby in years. The children move toward me, hands reaching. They don't touch me, but hover their fingers over the wet spots on my shirt. "Please," they whisper. "We've been hungry for so long." A tall figure appears at the back of the cave, a woman so thin she looks like skin stretched over bones. Her middle section is sunken in, like someone scooped out her insides. She moves forward, the children parting to let her through. "You've come at last," she says, her voice dry as the desert wind. "Another mother who has failed." "Who are you?" I ask, though part of me already knows. "I am the first," she says, "the one who ate her children during the Great Hunger, when the rain stopped for 3 summers. I ate them to survive, but then I couldn't live with what I'd done." She gestures to the hollow space where her stomach should be. "So I removed the part of me that had consumed them." The milk is flowing faster now, soaking through my shirt. The phantom children whimper, moving closer. "They're always hungry," the hollow woman says. "Children who died from their mothers. Failures, some from neglect, some from abuse, some from simple mistakes that can never be undone." Her eyes bore into mine. "Like yours." "Where's Emma?" I demand, looking around for the shimmer that has been my daughter. The hollow woman smiles, a terrible sight on her gaunt face. "She's here. She's always been here. Show her, child." From behind the hollow woman steps Emma, not the shimmer I've been talking to, but a solid-looking figure, as real as she was in life. But her eyes are different, darker, older somehow. "I'm hungry too, Mum," Emma says. "I've been hungry since. I died, not for food, for you, for the mother you were supposed to be." My legs give out, and I slide down the wall to sit on the cave floor. The phantom children gather around me, their cold, not quite hands reaching toward the milk that now flows freely from my body. "What's happening to me?" I ask, my voice shaking. "You're becoming what all failed mothers become in this place," the hollow woman says. "A source of nourishment for the children you and others have failed." I look down and see that the milk isn't just flowing to my shirt anymore. It's seeping into the ground, forming small white rivers that run to the cave, walls. Where the milk touches the rock, small plant roots appear, growing before my eyes, spreading across the walls and ceiling. The children begin to suckle on these roots, their hollow eyes closing in momentary peace. "You're feeding them all now," Emma says, kneeling beside me. "All the children who have ever been failed by their mothers in this canyon." Time blurs after that. I don't know if hours or days pass as I sit there, my body producing endless milk that feeds roots that feed children. My skin starts to feel like stone in places, rough and cool. The cave wall behind me seems to soften, accepting my back into it, like I'm becoming part of the canyon itself. Through it all, Emma sits beside me, sometimes speaking in English, sometimes in Navajo, telling me about all the mothers who have come to this canyon over the centuries. How some resisted, some accepted, but all eventually fed the hungry children. "The hollow woman has been doing this for 1,000 years, Emma tells me. She's tired. She needs someone to take her place." As if summoned by her name, The gaunt figure appears again, her hollow middle seeming larger than before. "Your medical knowledge is useless here," she tells me. "Only a mother's sacrifice matters. Only the old ways that you rejected can help these children now." From somewhere in the back of the cave, I hear my grandmother's voice. "Diana, be careful. She wants more than your milk. She wants your place in the world of the living." I try to stand, to run, but my body feels heavy, partially merged with the stone behind me. The roots growing from my chest pull painfully when I move. "What do you want from me?" I ask the hollow woman. Her smile grows wider, showing teeth too sharp for a human mouth. "Everything a mother has to give," she says, "and more." 6 days. Into my time in the canyon, my body doesn't feel like my own anymore. My skin has turned rough and pale like the canyon walls. The milk flows constantly now, feeding roots that spread across the cave like veins. I can feel every child who drinks from them, hundreds, maybe thousands of hungry souls pulling at my life force. I haven't slept, haven't eaten, don't need to anymore. The canyon feeds me somehow, a strange energy flowing up through the rock, into my body, only to be transformed into nourishment for the phantom children. Emma sits with me always now. Sometimes she's the 7-year-old who died. Sometimes she looks older, like the teenager she never got to be. "Mom," she says today, her voice more serious than before. "There's something you need to know. Something important." But before she can continue, the hollow woman appears, more solid than I've ever seen her. The empty space in her middle seems smaller, as if she's slowly filling up again. "It's time for you to choose, Diana Ravenshollow," she says, using my full name for the first time. "You've fed the children for 6 days. You've seen their hunger, felt their need." She kneels in front of me, her bony hand reaching out to touch my cheek. Her fingers are cold as death. "I can offer you what no other mother of failure has ever had," she whispers, "a chance to be with your child forever." I look at Emma, who watches us with those 2 old eyes. "What do you mean?" I ask, my voice raspy from disuse. "Take my place," the hollow woman says. "Become the eternal mother of this canyon. Feed all the lost children for 100 years, 1,000, however long it takes to feed every child who has ever been failed." She gestures to Emma, "And in return your daughter stays with you, not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as she is now, present, real, yours again." My heart lurches painfully in my chest. To have Emma back, really back, or, the hollow woman continues, "you can leave this place. Return to your hospital, your surgeries, your empty apartment. Live out your life alone, knowing your daughter's spirit wanders hungry and alone." "She's lying, Mum," Emma says suddenly, her voice sharp. "Don't listen to her." The hollow woman hisses, a sound like wind through dead branches. "Be silent, ye child." "No." Emma stands up, suddenly looking much older, almost adult. "She needs to know the truth." I feel the roots pull painfully at my chest as I try to reach for Emma. "What truth? What aren't you telling me?" Emma looks at me with eyes full of sorrow. "You have to remember what really happened, Mom. The night I died, it wasn't a toy I choked on." The hollow woman lunges for Emma, but her hands pass through my daughter like smoke. "Enough!" she shrieks, but Emma continues, moving to kneel in front of me. "Think back, Mom. Really think. After the custody hearing. You were drinking, yes, but then what happened?" I close my eyes, trying to remember. The memories are fuzzy, clouded by alcohol and grief. "We got in the car," I whisper, the memory suddenly surfacing. "I was drunk. I shouldn't have been driving." My eyes fly open in horror. "There was a truck. I didn't see it until it was too late." Emma nods, tears in her eyes. "We both died that night, Mom. You and me together." The cave seems to spin around me. "No, that's not possible. I'm here. I'm alive." "Are you?" Emma asks gently. "Look at yourself. Really look." I look down at my body, half merged with the stone. The roots aren't growing from my chest, they're growing through it. I can see the cave floor through my own torso. We're both dead, Emma says. We've been dead for months. This canyon is a kind of in-between place. A place where mothers who caused their children's deaths have to face what they did. The hollow woman shrieks again, the sound shaking dust from the cave ceiling. You've ruined everything, she yells at Emma. She was going to take my place. Willingly. Emma stands tall, facing the ancient spirit. My mother deserves the truth, all the mothers do. I look around the cave. With new eyes. The phantom children aren't just random lost souls. They're all children who died because of their mother's actions or inactions. Some by accident, some by neglect, some by darker things I don't want to name. The canyon doesn't just feed on milk, Emma explains, her voice gentle as she turns back to me. It feeds on guilt, on shame, on the endless punishment mothers inflict on themselves for their failures. The hollow woman seems to be shrinking, her power diminishing as the truth comes out. She offers every mother the same choice, Emma continues. Eternal punishment feeding the lost children, or facing the truth of what happened. I look from Emma to the hollow woman and back again. If we're both dead, then what happens if I refuse her offer? What happens to you? Emma smiles, a real smile that lights up her face like it used to. I go on, to whatever comes next, and eventually so do you, but only if you forgive yourself first. The hollow woman makes one last desperate lunge toward me. Choose now, she demands. Stay and keep your daughter, or lose her forever. I feel the weight of the choice pressing down on me, like the entire canyon has collapsed on my chest. Emma, my baby, right here with me forever, or the unknown, the separation, the letting go. What should I do? I whisper to Emma. She takes my hand, her small fingers warm against my cold ones. You know what to do, Mom. You've always known. Tell me everything, I say to Emma, ignoring the hollow woman's angry hisses. I need to know the whole truth. Emma sits beside me, her hand still in mine. The custody hearing was on a Friday, she begins. You picked me up from Dad's house afterward. You'd been drinking. The memories flood back now, no longer hidden behind a wall of guilt and denial. I remember the judge's stern face, the papers being signed, my ex-husband not even looking at me as I left the courtroom. I was so angry, I whisper. So hurt. Emma nods. You drank more when you got to Dad's. He tried to stop you from taking me, but you insisted it was your weekend. I can see it all now, grabbing Emma's overnight bag, buckling her into the back seat while my ex yelled that he was calling the police, peeling out of his driveway too fast. We were on Mountain View Road, I continue, the memories becoming clearer. It was raining. The truck came around the curve. You swerved, Emma says softly. You tried to save us. Tears stream down my face. But I couldn't. I was too drunk, too slow. The hollow woman circles us, her form shifting and flickering like a bad TV signal. Yes, you failed her, she hisses. Like all the others. That's why you belong here, with me, feeding the children forever. But something doesn't make sense. If I died in that crash, I ask, then how have I been working at the hospital? How have I been living in my apartment, carrying your ashes? You haven't, Emma says gently. That was the in-between life your mind created. A dream, where you survived, but I didn't, where your guilt could torture you forever. I look down at my hands, remembering how I sometimes saw blood on them that wasn't really there. How I saw Emma's face in every reflective surface. The court took me away because you kept drinking, Emma continues. There were incidents before. Times you passed out while watching me. Times you forgot to pick me up from school. Dad was trying to protect me. The shame burns inside me, but I don't look away from the truth anymore. I was a bad mother. No, Emma says firmly. You were a good mother with a bad disease. Alcoholism took you away from me long before the crash did. The cave seems to brighten slightly, as if Emma's words have let in a bit more light. This canyon, I say, looking around at the phantom children, at the hollow woman, at the strange roots still connected to my chest. What is it really? It's a place between places, Emma explains, where mothers who blame themselves for their children's deaths come to decide what happens next. Some call it purgatory. Grandmother would have another name for it. And her? I ask, nodding toward the hollow woman, who watches us with hungry eyes. She was the first, Emma says, an Anasazi mother who sacrificed her children during a great famine, then took her own life in shame. She's been trapped here ever since, feeding on the guilt of other mothers, growing stronger with each one who chooses eternal punishment over forgiveness. The hollow woman lets out a low moan. They deserve punishment, she says. All of them, all of us. No, I say, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. We deserve truth. We deserve to face what we did wrong. But we also deserve mercy. I look at my daughter, really look at her, not just the 7-year-old who died, but all she might have become. In her eyes, I see wisdom no child should have to learn so young. The canyon exists to make a choice, Emma says. Either hold on to guilt forever, becoming like her. She points to the hollow woman, or accept what happened and move on to whatever comes next. Together, I ask hopefully. Emma's eyes fill with tears. No, Mom, not together. I have my path, and you have yours. But someday, maybe, they'll cross again. The hollow woman moves closer, desperation in her sunken eyes. Don't listen to her. Stay here. Keep her with you forever. But it wouldn't really be her, would it? I ask, understanding finally dawning. It would be this place's version of her. A shadow used to trap me here. The hollow woman doesn't answer, but her silence tells me everything. I look around the cave at all the phantom children, seeing them clearly now. They're not really hungry for milk or food. They're hungry for release, for their mothers to let them go. All these children, I say, they're trapped here too, aren't they? As long as their mothers choose punishment over forgiveness, the children can't move on either. Emma nods. They're tied to their mother's guilt, bound by it. I feel the weight of not just my own choices, but the choices of hundreds of mothers across time pressing down on me. The hollow woman has built her power on their guilt, their shame, their unwillingness to forgive themselves. What happens if I choose to forgive myself, I ask, already knowing the answer but needing to hear it. I go free, Emma says simply, and eventually, so do you. The hollow woman screams, the sound shaking dust from the cave walls. No, you can't take her from me. You can't take any of them. But as I look at my daughter's face, I know what I have to do. The hardest thing any mother could ever do. I have to let her go. I forgive myself, I whisper, the words catching in my throat. I clear my throat and say it again, louder this time. I forgive myself. The effect is immediate, the roots connected. To my chest begin to wither, pulling away from my body. The phantom children look up, their hollow eyes suddenly brighter. No! The hollow woman lunges at me, but Emma steps between us. It's over, Emma says. She's made her choice. I feel something shift inside me, a lightness I haven't felt since before Emma died. The guilt isn't completely gone, but it's no longer crushing me under its weight. I was wrong to drink and drive, I say, my voice growing stronger. I was wrong to put my pain above your safety. I was wrong about so many things. I look at my daughter, tears streaming down my face. But I loved you, Emma. I always loved you. Emma smiles, and for a moment, I see all the versions of her at once. The baby I held in my arms, the toddler who took her first steps reaching for me, the school-aged child who loved painting and strawberry ice cream, and something more, a glimpse of the woman she might have become. I know, Mom, she says. I've always known. The cave begins to change around us. The walls become more transparent, as if the stone is turning to glass. Through them, I can see other caves, other chambers, where other mothers sit with their phantom children. Some are ancient, dressed in clothing from centuries past. Some look modern, like they might have died yesterday. The hollow woman thrashes and wails as her form grows dimmer. You cannot escape me. None of you can. But as I watch, some of the other mothers look up as if hearing our conversation. One by one, they begin to speak to their children, really speak to them, perhaps for the first time since entering this place. What's happening? I ask Emma. They're hearing the truth, she says. Your truth is helping them find theirs. I stand up, surprised that I can move again. My body feels solid once more, no longer merging with the stone. The phantom children gather around us, their eyes fixed on Emma. Are they going to be okay? I ask, looking at their small, hopeful faces. They will be, Emma says. Once their mothers let them go, they can move on. The hollow woman makes one last desperate lunge at us, but her form is barely visible now, like smoke in the wind. What about her? I ask. She's been here the longest, Emma explains. Her guilt is the deepest. But someday, maybe she'll find her way too. I look at the jar containing Emma's ashes, my last physical connection to my daughter. With trembling hands, I open it. I think it's time to let these go too, I say. Emma nods, tears in her eyes that match my own. Yes, it's time. Together, we walk to the cave entrance. The canyon beyond looks different now, brighter, less threatening. I can see other mothers emerging from other caves, each carrying something to release. I step out into the sunlight and gently pour Emma's ashes into the canyon breeze. They swirl up and away, catching the light like tiny diamonds before disappearing into the blue sky. I'm sorry, I whisper one last time, and I love you. Emma stands beside me, her form growing brighter, more transparent. I love you too, Mom. Always have, always will. I reach for her, but my hand passes through her shimmering outline. She's already going, moving on to whatever comes next. Wait! I call out, suddenly afraid. What happens to me now? Emma's voice comes from everywhere and nowhere, already sounding distant. You help the others, Mom. That's what you've always been good at, helping people heal. I look back at the cave, understanding dawning. The other mothers need someone to show them the way, someone who understands both the medical world I came from and the spiritual world of my Navajo ancestors that I'm only now beginning to truly understand. I'll stay, I decide, not as a punishment but as a guide. Emma's voice comes one last time, faint as a memory. That's my mom, always taking care of everyone. And then she's gone. I feel it the moment she moves on, a gentle snap, like a thread being cut. But it doesn't hurt the way I expected. Instead, it feels right, like the natural order of things restored. I turn back to the cave, where the phantom children watch me with hopeful eyes. Behind them stand their mothers, some still half merged with the stone, all trapped in their own guilt. My name is Diana Ravenshollow, I tell them. I'm going to help you find your way home. As I speak, I feel my grandmother's presence beside me, guiding my words, helping me remember the old ceremonies, the proper ways to help souls transition from one world to the next. In the deepest shadow of the cave, I can still see the faint outline of the hollow woman, watching me with those hungry eyes. But I'm not afraid of her anymore. Someday, I'll help her too. And somewhere, in the space between heartbeats, I hear a child calling. Not Emma. She's moved on to where she needs to be. This is another voice, another child waiting for their mother to let them go. I step back into the cave, ready to begin my new purpose. Not as the hollow woman, feeding on guilt and grief, but as a healer of souls, using both my medical knowledge and my reclaimed heritage to guide lost mothers home. It won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. And for the first time since I can remember, I feel whole. My name is Joseph Nightshade. Joey to the few friends I still have. I'm 25 years old and 1/4 Choctaw through my grandfather's bloodline. Most days I try to forget that I was ever in Iraq, but the scars on my skin won't let me. The burn marks aren't normal. They started as regular chemical burns from that day in Baghdad, but over time they've shifted, forming patterns that look like Choctaw writing across my arms and chest. My grandfather would have known what they meant. I'm afraid I already do. It's been 3 years since I came home from the Gulf War. 3 years of waking up screaming, of hearing children's voices speaking Choctaw words they shouldn't know. 3 years of my grandfather's spirit visiting my dreams, calling me little warrior who kills babies in our language. I never told anyone what happened that day. How my unit found what we thought was a weapons cache in that shelter. How I was the one who suggested using white phosphorus. How proud I felt using the tracking skills my grandfather taught me. Skills passed down through generations of Choctaw warriors to hunt people in a foreign desert. It wasn't until after, when the chemicals cleared, that we found them. Families, children, no weapons, just civilians seeking shelter from American bombs. Their bodies still burning from the inside out. That's when the voices started. That's when my grandfather first turned away from me in shame. Last week, I heard rumors about what the military's been doing in the bayou, in our bayou, sacred Choctaw burial grounds where our warriors have rested for centuries. They've been dumping the same chemicals we used in Iraq, the same weapons that burned those children alive. So here I am, wading through knee-deep water that sometimes feels welcoming and sometimes seems to pull away from me in disgust. My backpack is filled with water testing kits that leave a burning taste in my mouth whenever I use them. I brought my camera too, though something's wrong with it. Every photo I take shows faces I don't want to see, eyes I've been running from. My military gear feels heavier with each step. The bayou knows what I've done. The water whispers in 2 languages, Choctaw and Arabic, neither of which I'm supposed to understand so clearly. Something's following me through the trees. Sometimes it looks like an alligator, but with eyes too knowing, too human. Sometimes it's something else entirely, something that walks on 2 legs, then 4, something with teeth that gleam like white phosphorus burning. The air tastes wrong here, like metal and guilt and Baghdad dust. Time feels strange too. I've been walking for what feels like hours, but my watch says it's only been minutes. Or maybe it's the other way around. I know I shouldn't be here, not with what I've done, but I have to expose what they're doing to this land. Maybe it's the only way to make things right. Maybe it's the only way to silence the children who speak to me when I close my eyes. The swamp is singing to me now, a melody that sounds like my grandfather's morning songs mixed with radio static from my old unit. It's guiding me deeper, toward the heart of the contamination, toward whatever judgment waits for me there. I should be afraid. Instead, for the first time since Baghdad, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The weight of my gear shifts against my back, reminding me of my purpose. My name is Joseph Nightshade. I was a warrior once. I betrayed everything that word was supposed to mean, and now I'm going to find out what price the swamp demands for such betrayal. The first day in the swamp went better than I expected. The water seemed to know where I needed to go, pulling me toward areas I might have missed. By noon, I found what I was looking for. The dump site was worse than the rumors said. Rusty barrels leaked into the water, creating rainbow slicks that seemed to whisper as they spread. Dead fish floated belly up near the shore. The trees closest to the contamination had lost their leaves, their bare branches reaching up like burned fingers. I took samples from different spots, carefully marking each location on my map. The testing kits burned my fingertips as I used them, but I kept going. The results turned darker shades of red than the charts even showed. This wasn't just regular pollution. These were military-grade chemicals, the same ones we used overseas. "This is it," I whispered to myself. "This is what will make them pay attention." For the first time in years, I felt like I was doing something right. Like maybe my grandfather's spirit would see me trying to protect our land instead of destroy someone else's. The Choctaw part of me felt connected to this mission in a way that made sense. The military had taught me to document, to gather evidence, to build a case. Now I was using those skills against them. As the sun started to set, I found a dry spot to camp for the night. The weight of my pack seemed lighter now that I had a clear enemy to fight. Not foreign people who never did anything to me, but the real threat, the companies and military leaders who poisoned land wherever they went, whether in Iraq or Louisiana. That night, I dreamed of my grandfather. Instead of turning away, he pointed deeper into the swamp. His lips didn't move, but I heard him anyway. "You see only the surface, little one. Go deeper." I woke up with the taste of metal in my mouth, and a strange feeling that the swamp had shifted around me while I slept. My campsite looked the same, but something felt different. The air smelled sharper, like chemicals and something else, something that reminded me of Baghdad. I packed quickly and headed in the direction my grandfather had pointed in my dream. The morning sun couldn't quite break through the trees here, leaving everything in a grey half-light that made the shadows move strangely. My radio crackled, with static even though it was turned off. When I tried to turn it on properly, I heard voices between the bursts of noise. They sounded like my old unit, calling coordinates for an airstrike. I yanked out the batteries, but the voices continued, for a few seconds before fading. That's when I noticed the burn on my wrist had changed overnight. The scar tissue now clearly formed Choctaw syllables. I recognized enough to make out two words: truth and below. The water got deeper as I moved forward, rising from my knees to my waist. Sometimes it felt warm, like bath water. Other times it turned ice cold in an instant. And once, just for a moment, it felt like it was pulling me down deliberately, like hands grabbing at my legs. I told myself it was just uneven ground, just my mind playing tricks, just the isolation getting to me. Then I saw the first bubble rise from below, not a natural swamp bubble, but something that caught the light wrong, shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. When it burst, I swear I heard a child laugh. That's when I knew the swamp wasn't just going to give me evidence of what the military had done. It was going to make me face what I had done too. By the second day, something was happening to me. The water had changed me somehow. I kept seeing flashes of Baghdad overlapping with the swamp. One minute, I'd be pushing through cypress knees and floating plants, and the next I'd see desert buildings and smell burning air. It started small, a quick flicker like when you blink too hard. Then it got worse. I was testing water from a particularly dark pool when suddenly I wasn't in Louisiana anymore. I was back there, watching white phosphorus canisters drop from our helicopters. I could feel the heat on my face, hear the screams. Then just as quickly I was back in the swamp, on my knees in the water, gasping for breath. My camera stopped working completely, or rather, it worked too well. Every photo showed the same image. Those children from the shelter, their eyes looking directly at me through the screen. I threw it in my pack and didn't touch it again. That afternoon I saw it for the first time. I thought it was just another alligator moving through the trees ahead. But this thing stood up on two legs. Its skin wasn't scales, but looked more like burned flesh covered in a chemical sheen. When it turned toward me, its eyes glowed like white phosphorus burning. It spoke in a voice that was many voices together, children's voices, some speaking Arabic, some speaking Choctaw, all saying the same thing. "Why did you burn us, Joey? We were just hiding." I ran. The water seemed to grab at my legs, slowing me down. I fell face first into the swamp, and when I came up sputtering, the thing was gone, but its voice lingered, echoing through the trees. That night, huddled on a small island of dry land, I heard my radio crackle to life again, despite having no batteries. Through the static came the voices of my old unit, Martinez, Jackson, Willis, all dead now from various cancers and respiratory problems after our deployment. Night, shade. Martinez's voice crackled. We never left that place. The chemicals, Jackson's voice cut in. They got us all, even you. I threw the radio into the swamp, but their voices continued in my head. When I woke the next morning, new burns had formed on my chest, clear Choctaw syllables that spelled out baby killer. The skin was fresh and raw, as if someone had just pressed a hot iron there. But I'd felt nothing in my sleep. The swamp water had started to change me in other ways. When I looked at my reflection, I could see Baghdad burning in my eyes. When I touched the water, I could feel each chemical by name, as if my skin could read their molecular structure. Worst of all, I started to remember things differently. Not just what happened in that shelter, but why we did it. My mind kept replaying the mission briefing, but now I could see what I'd missed before, how they'd specifically recruited me for my Choctaw background. How they'd trained me to use traditional tracking knowledge, not just to find the enemy, but to test new weapons against populations who lived similarly to my ancestors. They'd turned me into a weapon against my own kind, not just Choctaw, but all indigenous peoples, all people who lived close to the land. By the third day, the visions weren't coming and going anymore. They were constant. Each step through the swamp was also a step through that day in Baghdad, playing on endless repeat. Each time, I'd see something new, a different child's face, a different mother's scream. The chemicals in the water were making me relive it all, forcing me to witness every detail I'd tried to forget. The burns on my skin spread and shifted, forming new words each hour. My grandfather's disappointed face appeared in every pool of water. The creature, what my grandfather's stories would have called a rougarou, stalked me constantly now, always just at the edge of my vision. "You are us now," the many-voiced creature said, when I finally stopped running and faced it. "You breathe the chemicals. You drank the water. You are part of what you created." I realized then that my skin wasn't just forming Choctaw words. It was also developing the same burn patterns I'd seen on those children in Baghdad. My body was becoming a living record of my crimes. And the swamp, this sacred Choctaw burial ground now contaminated with the same chemicals I'd used on civilians, wasn't just showing me what I'd done. It was making me become what I'd created. By the fourth day, I could barely tell what was real anymore. The swamp and Baghdad had merged into one place in my mind. The water at my feet looked like sand one moment and murky bayou the next. The cypress trees bent and shifted into the shapes of bombed-out buildings. That morning, I found a metal box half buried in mud. It wasn't rusted like the barrels. It looked new. Inside were papers with military stamps, classified documents that someone had tried to hide. My hands shook as I read them. The papers explained everything. This wasn't just a dump site for leftover chemicals. It was a test site. They were deliberately putting these weapons in sacred indigenous lands to see what would happen. The documents talked about cultural contamination experiments and spiritual site reactions. They were testing how their weapons affected places, with deep cultural meaning. And they weren't just doing it here. They were doing it on Navajo land, in Hawaii, in Alaska. Anywhere indigenous people held land as sacred. There was a map showing all the test sites around the world, each one matched. Places where people lived close to the land, just like my ancestors had. But the worst part was when I saw my own name in the files. I wasn't investigating anything they didn't already know about. They had sent me here. They were tracking me, using my reactions to the chemicals as data for their experiments. My nightmares, my guilt, my visions, all of it was being monitored. Somehow, I was still a weapon for them, still being used. The Rougarou appeared again, standing in the water just a few feet away. In the daylight, I could see it clearly now. Its body was part human, part animal, and part something else, like it was made from the chemicals themselves. "You understand now," it said, its many voices speaking together. "This is not just about what you did there. This is about what was done to all of us." "Who are you?" I asked, though I already knew. "We are the ones you killed in Baghdad," said a child's voice. "We are the Choctaw warriors whose rest you disturbed," said an older voice. "We are all who suffer when knowledge meant to protect the land is turned into weapons," said a voice that sounded like my grandfather's. The creature stepped closer. "Your military didn't just use you to kill us. They used you to learn how to kill everything we are, every connection to the land, every sacred bond." I backed away, but there was nowhere to run now. The swamp itself seemed alive around me, watching, judging. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing," the Rougarou said. "You are already becoming what you need to be." I looked down at my hands and saw they were changing. My skin had taken on a strange sheen, like the surface of the contaminated water. The burns now covered most of my body, telling my story in Choctaw symbols that moved and shifted like they were alive. "I don't understand," I said. "You were sent here to die," the creature explained, "to become part of their experiment. But the swamp has other plans for you." That's when I noticed something strange. The papers I'd been holding were changing, too. The words shifted before my eyes, revealing a deeper truth. I hadn't survived Iraq at all. The chemical exposure had killed me there, just like it had killed the rest of my unit later. Everything since then, my return home, my nightmares, this investigation, none of it had happened the way I remembered. I had been in this in-between place all along, this purgatory where the chemicals and my guilt kept me trapped. "No," I whispered, "that can't be right. I came home. I've been living—" "You've been here," the Rougarou said, "where all warriors who betray their purpose go, where those who turn their gifts against the innocent must face what they've done." Swamp water rose around me, though I hadn't moved deeper. It reached my chest now, warm and cold at the same time. I should have been afraid, but somehow I wasn't. For the first time since Baghdad, or what I thought was Baghdad, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. "What happens now?" I asked. The Rougarou's many-voiced answer followed me as the water rose higher. "Now you choose." The water rose to my neck, but I didn't fight it. Something told me that struggling would only make things worse. The Rougarou stood watching, its form shifting between human, animal, and something made of pure chemical light. "Choose what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My grandfather appeared beside the creature, not as the frail old man I remembered from childhood, but as a warrior in his prime. His face was stern but not unkind. "You must choose your path, little one," he said. "All warriors who lose their way come to this place of judgment." The water around me became perfectly clear, and I could see down to the bottom of the swamp. Hundreds, maybe thousands of warriors from different times and places stood below, looking up at me. Some wore traditional Choctaw clothing, others wore military uniforms from different eras. All had the same burn marks I now carried. "What happened to them?" I asked. "Some chose eternal punishment," my grandfather explained. "They remain here, feeling the pain they caused others for all time." He gestured to some of the figures who seemed frozen in poses of agony, their mouths open in silent screams as chemical burns spread across their bodies endlessly. "Others," he continued, chose to become guardians, to use what they learned from their mistakes to protect what they once harmed. He pointed to warriors who looked different. Their burns had transformed into markings of power. They moved freely through the water, watching over the boundaries of the swamp. "This is the real war," my grandfather said. "Not between nations or people, but between those who would destroy the sacred and those who would protect it." I understood then. This wasn't just happening in this one swamp. This was happening everywhere the military had tested their weapons. On sacred land, everywhere, chemical warfare had poisoned the connection between people and their heritage. A memory surfaced, not of Baghdad this time, but of the mission briefing before. I remembered now how eagerly I had volunteered when they asked for someone with indigenous tracking skills. How proud I'd been to show how my Choctaw knowledge could be used as a weapon. How I'd suggested targeting places where civilians gathered, because that's where traditional knowledge said you could find the heart of a community. I had done more than follow orders. I had helped design the attack. I had been the one to suggest using white phosphorus specifically because of how it would affect people who lived close to the land. The truth hit me harder than any chemical. Burn. I hadn't just participated in a war crime. I had helped create a new kind of warfare, one that targeted not just bodies but cultural knowledge itself. "I see it now," I said, the water touching my chin. "I see what I did." The Rougarou nodded, its many voices speaking as one. "That is the beginning of your choice. What can I do?" I asked. "How can anyone make up for something like that?" My grandfather stepped closer. "You cannot undo what was done, but you can prevent it from happening again." The water stopped, rising. The burns on my skin stopped spreading. Everything went still and silent, waiting for my decision. I thought of those children in Baghdad, of the warriors beneath my feet, of all the sacred places being poisoned right now. "I choose to protect," I said finally. "I choose to be a guardian." The moment the words left my mouth, the water changed around me. Instead of drowning me, it seemed to become part of me. The burns on my skin transformed, shifting from marks of shame to symbols of purpose. I could feel the chemicals that had killed me becoming something else inside my body. Not a poison anymore, but a kind of power. "You will guard this place," my grandfather said. "You will warn those who come here with harmful intent. You will guide those who seek to heal the land. And you will not be alone," the Rougarou added, its form changing until I recognized the faces of those children from Baghdad, now looking at me with forgiveness instead of accusation. I felt myself changing, becoming something between human and spirit. I could sense every drop of contamination in the swamp, every barrel leaking poison, every spot where the military had tested their weapons. And beyond this swamp, I could feel connections to other places, other sacred sites where the same battles were being fought. In my new form, I could travel between these places. I could warn other guardians when new threats appeared. I could help guide lost warriors to their own moments of choice. My grandfather smiled for the first time. "Now you are a true warrior, little one. Now you protect instead of destroy." As he faded away, I felt myself settle into my new purpose. The swamp that had judged me now welcomed me as part of itself. The chemicals that had killed me now gave me the power to prevent others from suffering the same fate. I was no longer Joseph Nightshade, the man who betrayed his heritage to become a weapon. I was now a guardian of the singing swamp, a protector of all places where land and culture meet. And somewhere, in another part of the world, someone just like me was making the same choices I had made, volunteering to use their cultural knowledge as a weapon, preparing to target the sacred bonds between people and their land. I could feel them, and now I could reach them. I slipped beneath the surface of the water, ready to begin my new mission, not as a weapon of war, but as a guardian of what war tries to destroy, The swamp sang around me, and this time I understood every word. My name is Marcus Ironwood, but everyone calls me Mac. I'm 29 years old and standing at the edge of a forest that feels both like home and a place I don't belong. The trees whisper in a language I pretend not to understand, but my grandmother's. Voice is in every rustling leaf. I check my equipment one more time. Tracking devices, tranquilizer rifle, sample collection kits. All the tools of a wildlife biologist in 1984. All the things that set me apart from my Ojibwe ancestors who would have entered these woods with nothing but respect and awareness. This is research, I tell myself, touching the university logo on my jacket. This is science. But why does the metal of my rifle feel so cold? Why do my hands shake when I touch the ceremonial tobacco I've brought but don't plan to use? My grandmother Sarah would have offered it to the forest before taking a single step inside. I stuff it deeper into my pocket. I'm here to study wolves, specifically to prove they're an overpopulated menace that needs to be managed. The timber companies who help fund my research will be pleased. The university will be impressed, and I'll have taken another step away from what my grandmother called the old ways. I'm only quarter Ojibwe by blood, but Sarah raised me with stories of our people's connection to the land. How wolves are our brothers. How every living thing exists in balance. How humans are not above nature, but part of it. Primitive thinking, my professor had called it when I mentioned it once in class. Romanticized nonsense that prevented proper resource management. I had nodded along, quoted his words in my first published paper. Used my grandmother's teachings as examples of outdated thinking that modern science had disproven. The paper won awards. The day it was published was the day my eyes started changing color. Not in a way anyone else could see. But when I looked in the mirror, after betraying one culture for another, my eyes seemed darker, then lighter, like they couldn't decide what part of me should show through. I set up my first research station and checked the radio signal. Nothing but static out here, which is perfect. 3 weeks alone in the wilderness to gather data that will advance my career. Data that will justify expanded logging operations in what the Ojibwe consider sacred land. This same forest is where my grandmother died 5 years ago. She was part of a protest against clear-cutting the old growth sections. The official report said she had a heart attack, but the elders said she died of heartbreak when the chainsaws started. I testified against the tribe in the lawsuit that followed, explained how Native American conservation practices were based on mythology rather than science, how the forest would recover, how jobs mattered more than ceremonies. The money from that testimony paid for my doctoral studies. As the sun sets on my first day, I organize my notes and prepare for tomorrow's tracking. The forest grows quiet in a way that feels deliberate, like it's holding its breath. I convince myself it's just the normal evening transition, but then I hear it. A wolf's howl that sounds almost like words, like my grandmother calling my Ojibwe name, the one I haven't used since her funeral. Just the wind, I whisper, reaching for my recorder to document wolf vocalizations, just the natural sound of predators. But when I play back the recording, there's nothing there, just static and silence where I know a howl should be. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but the forest speaks to me in Ojibwe, names plants I shouldn't know, tells stories I shouldn't remember. The taste of the air changes with each breath, sweet with pine, then bitter with the memory of chainsaws. Tomorrow will be better, I tell myself. Tomorrow I'll remember I'm a scientist, not a superstitious child. Tomorrow I'll prove the wolves need management, that humans know better than nature what the balance should be. But as sleep finally comes, I dream of an enormous figure with antlers that touch the stars, watching me from between the trees, judging me, testing me, waiting to see which world I'll choose. And in my dream, I already know I'm failing the test. 1 week into my research, and things are going better than I expected. My tracking skills are sharp, maybe too sharp. I find wolf tracks easily, like they're glowing on the forest floor. I tell myself it's my scientific training, but deep down, I know it's the tracking methods my grandmother taught me when I was small. Look for the pattern, not just the print, she used to say, guiding my little hand over wolf tracks by the creek. The wolf speaks through his path. Today, I followed a set of unusually large tracks to a clearing. There I found what I was hoping for, proof of wolf overpopulation. 3 deer carcasses, picked clean. Perfect evidence for my paper on why we need to control the wolf population to protect deer herds for human hunters. I snap photos and collect samples, feeling like a real scientist. My equipment works perfectly, giving me data that will impress my professors. Each time I use my grandmother's knowledge to find what I need, I twist it to fit my paper's argument. See? I whisper to the empty forest. Modern science works better than old stories. That night in my tent, the wolves howl again. But something is different. They sound closer, more organized. I step outside with my flashlight and scan the darkness. Nothing but trees. Yet I can't shake the feeling of being watched. Sleep comes hard. When I finally drift off, I dream of my grandmother. She sits across from me at a campfire, her face sad. "The forest knows what you're doing, Macoons," she says, using my Ojibwe name. "The Antler King is watching." I wake with a start. The forest is quiet, too quiet. No bird songs, no rustling leaves, just silence and the smell of pine, much stronger than it should be. My second week begins with strange events I can't explain. My compass points in different directions depending on what I'm thinking about. When I think about helping the wolves, it points north. When I think about my research paper, it spins wildly. Then I see him, the alpha wolf. He's massive, with silver-grey fur and eyes that look too smart. He stands on a ridge watching me, not running when I raise my camera. The photos will be perfect for my paper, proof of abnormally large wolves threatening the ecosystem. But when I check the camera later, the images are blurry, except for the wolf's eyes, which are crystal clear and look almost human. That night, the wolves don't just howl. They form a circle around my camp just beyond the light of my fire. I count 7 of them, with the alpha at the center. They don't approach or threaten, they just watch. "What do you want?" I shout, fear-making. My voice cracks. The alpha tilts his head, and for a second, I swear he looks exactly like my grandmother around the eyes. I scramble into my tent and zip it closed, knowing how useless that would be if they attacked. But they don't. Instead, I hear something, large, moving through the trees beyond them. Something that makes even the wolves grow quiet. The next morning, the wolves are gone, but they've left me a gift, or maybe a warning, a perfect circle of pine cones around my tent, just like the protection circle my grandmother taught me to make when I was scared as a child. Later that day, while tracking a smaller wolf pack, I noticed something odd. Whenever I walk toward areas marked for future logging, I get turned around. Paths that should go straight suddenly curve. Streams appear where my map shows none. The forest itself seems to be protecting certain areas from me. My equipment starts acting strange too. My radio picks up voices speaking Ojibwe when there's no station that broadcasts it. My GPS shows me in places I can't possibly be. Sometimes in the middle of lakes. Sometimes in areas that were clear-cut years ago, but the screen shows as pristine forest. When I try to document wolf overbreeding, my camera fails. When I switch to photographing wolf parenting behavior, it works perfectly. Just coincidence, I mutter, but my hands shake. That night, I dream of standing in a forest clearing. Before me stands a creature I can only call the Antler King. Not quite deer, not quite man, with antlers that branch endlessly toward the stars. Its eyes hold galaxies. "You taste of 2 worlds," it says, though its mouth doesn't move. "The one you deny and the one you serve." I wake gasping, the taste of metal and pine filling my mouth. Outside my tent, I find fresh wolf tracks. They form a pattern that looks like words in Ojibwe, words I shouldn't be able to read, but somehow it can. They say, "Remember who you are." The wolves are protecting me, I realize with a shock. They're keeping something else away, something that doesn't like humans who try to control nature. I should be frightened, but instead I feel a strange calm, like part of me has been waiting for this, like the forest is finally speaking a language I've pretended not to know. My hands stop shaking when I pick up my grandmother's tobacco pouch. For the first time since arriving, I offer some to the four directions, just as she taught me. "Thank you for watching over me," I whisper in Ojibwe, words I haven't spoken in years. From the deep woods comes a sound like branches breaking, or maybe antlers growing. The Antler King is listening, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Week 3 in the forest, and I barely recognize myself anymore. I catch my reflection in a stream and stare at a stranger. My eyes keep changing, sometimes dark, sometimes light, shifting like they can't decide which part of me should win. But it's not just my eyes. My senses have changed. I can smell things I shouldn't be able to smell, like the sap running inside trees, like the fear of a rabbit half a mile away, like the age of rocks beneath my feet. When did I start walking barefoot? Focus on the research, I tell myself, setting up equipment to track the wolf pack. My hands work quickly, expertly, but something feels wrong. My fingers leave marks on trees as I pass. Scratches that look like I'm marking territory. I don't remember doing this. At night, I find myself waking up outside my tent, dirt under my fingernails, the taste of forest plants in my mouth. Plants my grandmother once showed me, plants I shouldn't remember. I check my journal. My handwriting has changed, becoming more like flowing water than the straight scientific notes I was trained to take. Some entries are in Ojibwe, a language I told everyone I'd forgotten. One morning I wake to find the alpha wolf sitting just 10 feet from my tent. He doesn't run or growl, he just watches me with those knowing eyes. "What do you want from me?" I ask, not expecting an answer. The wolf tilts his head, then turns and walks slowly into the trees. He stops, looks back. He wants me to follow. Against all my scientific training, I do. He leads me deeper into the forest than I've gone before, to a part where the trees grow in strange patterns, like they're forming shapes or letters from above. We reach a clearing where 7 other wolves wait in a circle. The alpha joins them, leaving a space that seems meant for me. In the center of their circle stands a young pine sapling, growing from what looks like a pile of ashes. Around the sapling, the ground forms a perfect spiral. "I don't understand," I say. A wolf howl answers me, but it sounds like my grandmother's voice saying, "Yes, you do." I kneel beside the sapling and suddenly know what this place is. This is where my grandmother died, where they burned her body in the traditional way after the protest, where the logging company later cut down all the surrounding trees, except the trees are here now, tall and ancient. Impossible. "This can't be real," I whisper. The wolves watch me, their eyes reflecting something behind me. I turn slowly. There it stands, the creature from my dreams, the Antler King. Massive antlers branch from its head like an ancient crown, stretching up and out until they seem to touch the sky itself. Its body shifts between human and deer and shadow, never fully one thing. Fear freezes me in place, but strangely, a sense of calm washes over me too. Like meeting someone I've always known was waiting. "You walk 2 paths," it says, though its mouth doesn't move. The words form directly in my mind. Human dominance or natural balance. "I'm just a scientist," I manage to say, my voice small. "I'm just doing research." No. The word fills the clearing like thunder. "You use knowledge meant to protect, to justify destruction." The air grows thick, hard to breathe. Images flash through my mind, clear-cut forests, dying animals, my own papers being used to justify more logging, more management. I didn't mean to, I start. Intentions matter less than actions, the Antler King says. You know this is sacred land. You know wolves maintain balance. You know trees communicate, yet you write lies that serve those who destroy. My legs give out, and I sink to my knees. Because it's true. I've always known my research was twisted to support what the timber companies wanted. I chose career over truth. I chose to forget what my grandmother taught me. Look, commands the Antler King. The world around me shifts. The forest becomes transparent, and I see layers of time all at once. This land as it was 1,000 years ago. This land as it will be 100 years from now. Barren, logged, eroded. Then something even stranger. I see other people. Ghostly figures moving through the trees. Men and women in research gear like mine but changed. Some have antlers growing from their heads. Some move on all fours, half human and half animal. They watch me with sad, knowing eyes. What are they? I ask, my voice shaking. Those who came before you, says the Antler King. Those who chose to serve the forest rather than destroy it. They were people, scientists. They were bridge builders between human knowledge and forest wisdom. Now they are guardians of what remains. I look at my hands and notice with horror that my nails have grown thick and dark. My fingers seem longer. When did this happen? You are becoming, says the Antler King. The question is, becoming what? The wolves move closer, forming a tighter circle around me. I should be terrified, but instead I feel protected, safe. Your grandmother understood the choice, continues the Antler King. She chose to protect. You chose to destroy. Now you must choose again. A howl rises from the alpha wolf, a sound so full of grief and hope that tears stream down my face. In that howl, I hear my grandmother speaking to me, telling me it's not too late. I don't understand what you want from me, I say, though part of me does understand. Return to your camp, says the Antler King. Your equipment contains the means to capture these wolves for your research, to prove your theories of overpopulation, to advance your career. The creature's eyes bore into mine. Or you can destroy your research. Accept what you are becoming. Join those who guard what remains of the natural world. And if I choose my career? I ask, already knowing the answer. Then you remain human, in a world humans are destroying. You die with your kind when the balance fails completely. The Antler King begins to fade, melting into the trees. Choose before the moon is full, it says. 3 days. I find myself alone in the clearing, the wolves gone, only the sapling, remaining as proof I didn't imagine everything. I walk back to my camp in a daze. My tranquilizer rifle sits where I left it, ready to capture wolves for my research. My laptop contains half-finished papers already twisted to support more logging, more management. That night, I dream of a world on fire, of forests turned to deserts, of the last wolves dying alone. And I see my grandmother's face, asking me a simple question. Which world do you serve, Macoons? The one that takes or the one that gives? I wake up crying, the taste of ash in my mouth. 2 days left to decide. I sit in my tent looking at my research equipment, my hands shaking. Outside, the forest waits, watching, judging. I try to radio my university, but get only static and whispers in Ojibwe. My satellite phone shows no signal. I'm cut off, alone with my choice. That morning, I decide to continue my research. This is all just stress and guilt, I tell myself. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe there's something in the water. I pick up my tranquilizer rifle and head out to find the wolf pack. If I can just complete my original mission, everything will make sense again. I'll go back to the university with my data, write my papers, and forget all this nonsense about the Antler King. The forest feels different today. The trees seem to lean away from me as I pass. Birds go silent. Even the ground feels harder under my feet, like the earth itself is rejecting me. Still, I find wolf tracks easily and follow them, too easily. They're leading me somewhere, not running from me. I should stop, but I don't. The tracks lead to a small clearing I've never seen before. In the center stands a weathered wooden post, covered in carvings. I recognize Ojibwe symbols for wolf, deer, tree, human, and one I don't recognize, antlers touching stars. As I study the carvings, the world around me shifts. The forest blurs, then refocuses, but everything looks wrong. The trees are smaller, many missing. The ground is dry, cracked. The air smells of smoke and chemicals. I spin around, disoriented, and freeze at what I see. My camp, or what's left of it. My tent is weathered, torn, half collapsed, rusted research equipment scattered around, everything covered in years of dirt and leaves. "This isn't possible," I whisper. "It is the truth," says a voice behind me. I turn to see an old man wearing tattered clothes that might once have been a research uniform like mine. His eyes glow slightly in the dim light, and small antlers, actual antlers, grow from his temples. "Who are you?" I ask, my voice shaking. "I was Dr. Thomas Mercer, wildlife biologist, before." "Before what?" His sad smile shows two sharp teeth. "Before the collapse. Before the Antler King gave me a choice, like you." "I don't understand," I say, but part of me does. A horrible understanding is growing inside me. The old man, Mercer, gestures around us. "This is not your time, Marcus Ironwood. The Antler King has shown you the future. Your future, if humanity continues its path." "What? What year is it here?" "Time means little now, but by your counting, about 40 years after you began your research." 40 years, 2024. I look around again, seeing the devastation with new eyes. "What happened?" Mercer laughs, a sound like breaking branches. "What didn't happen? Climate, change, mass extinction, wars over water and food. The forest died first, then the animals, then most humans." I stumble backward, my rifle dropping from numb fingers. "No, this is a trick." "Look," he says simply. The world shifts again. We stand on a hillside overlooking what was once a city. Now it's mostly rubble and overgrown ruins. The sky above is hazy red. "Your research helped logging companies clear the last old-growth forests," Mercer says quietly. "Your papers justified wolf hunting that destroyed the predator-prey balance. Your work undermined native protection efforts that might have saved some areas." "I was just doing science," I whisper. "No, you were serving those who paid you. You knew better. Your grandmother taught you better." The mention of my grandmother breaks something in me. I fall to my knees, tears streaming down my face. "I didn't know it would lead to this." "Part of you knew," says Mercer. "The part you ignored." He helps me stand, his touch strangely gentle despite his clawed hands. "Come," he says, "there's more to see." We walk through the ruined world, and I see things that will haunt me forever. Dried riverbeds, dead forests, the bones of animals that no longer exist. But then something unexpected. In a protected valley, I see green, real green, living trees and plants, and moving among them figures like Mercer, part human, part animal, working together to nurture what grows. "The Antler King's children," Mercer explains, "those who chose to become guardians rather than remain human. They're rebuilding?" "Healing," he corrects. "It will take centuries, but life will recover. Different but alive." We return to the clearing with the carved post. The alpha wolf waits there, those knowing eyes fixed on mine. "Your grandmother didn't die of a heart attack," Mercer says quietly. "She gave herself to the forest willingly, became part of the Antler King's protection network. She What? The wolf knows you, Mercer continues. Can you not see her? Eyes. I look at the alpha wolf again, really look. The eyes that seemed so familiar, my grandmother's eyes. That's not possible, I whisper. The wolf approaches slowly and presses its forehead against my hand. A flood of memories washes through me. My grandmother's voice, her teachings, her love for the forest and for me. She chose to become a guardian, Mercer says. Now you must choose. Take me back, I say, my voice breaking. Take me back to my time, please. The world shifts again, and I'm standing in the original clearing, alone except for the alpha wolf. My grandmother, watching me from the trees. I run back to my camp, desperate, confused. Everything is normal. Tent upright, equipment modern and working, but I know what I saw, what I felt. I look at my reflection in a small mirror. My eyes have settled on a color I've never seen before, a mix of my father's blue and my mother's brown, with flecks of gold that weren't there before. My teeth look slightly sharper. My nails thicker. It's already happening. I'm changing. That night, the Antler King comes to me in my tent. Not in a dream this time, really there, its massive form somehow fitting in the small space, antlers passing through the fabric like it's not even there. You have seen, it says. Yes, I whisper. You have one day left to choose. I think of the ruined world, of my grandmother's eyes in the wolf's face, of the small green valley where something new is growing from the ashes of human civilization. If I choose to become like Mercer, what happens to me? To my research? To this? Time. You will help prepare the world for what comes, says the Antler King. Your knowledge of biology will serve the forest, not those who destroy it. Your human self will be remembered as missing in these woods. Your new self will begin. And if I refuse, you return to your human life, publish your papers, advance your career, die in the collapse with those you served. I close my eyes, tears streaming down my face. Is there no other way? Can't we stop what's coming? Warn people? The Antler King's voice grows softer, almost gentle. The time for warnings has passed. Now we prepare for what follows humanity. I think of everything I've worked for, my career, my reputation, the praise of my professors, the funding from timber companies, and I think of my grandmother, of her teachings, of her eyes in the wolf's face. I choose the forest, I whisper. I choose to become a guardian. The Antler King touches my forehead with one branch-like finger. Pain shoots through me, but also something else. Connection. Suddenly I can feel every tree, every animal, every drop of water in the forest. I can feel the earth breathing beneath me. It will not be easy, says the Antler King. The transformation is painful, the work is hard, the waiting is long. I understand, I say, and I do. For the first time in years, I truly understand. Morning comes and I know what I must do. I gather all my research, my papers, my data, and burn them in a small fire. I bury my equipment. I leave my ID and a torn piece of my shirt by a dangerous ravine. Evidence for the search party that will eventually come looking. Then I walk deep into the forest, following the alpha wolf. My grandmother in her new form. She leads me to the clearing with the sapling. The other guardians wait there. Mercer and others like him. Part human, part animal, all connected to the forest. The Antler King stands at the center, antlers reaching to the sky. Are you ready, Marcus Ironwood? It asks. I remove the last human things, my watch, my glasses, my boots. I stand barefoot on the earth, feeling it pulse beneath me. Yes, I say, I'm ready. The transformation begins with fire in my blood and bones stretching. My teeth sharpen, my nails harden into claws. Small antlers like Mercer's push painfully from my temples. But the physical changes are nothing compared to what happens in my mind. Suddenly, I can hear the trees talking to each other. I can feel the mycelial networks beneath the soil, carrying messages and nutrients. I can sense every living thing in the forest as if they're extensions of myself. And time changes. I see the forest as it was 1,000 years ago. I see it as it will be 1,000 years from now. I see myself and the other guardians working through decades to protect what remains, to nurture new life, to prepare for a world after humans. When it's done, I am both more and less than human. Part of me is wolf, part deer, part forest itself. The knowledge I gained in universities remains, but now it serves the earth rather than those who would exploit it. "Welcome, Guardian," says the Antler King. "Your work begins." Years pass in the human world. Search parties come and go. My disappearance becomes a local mystery, then is forgotten. My unfinished research is published by others, but without my field notes, it does less damage than it might have. In the forest, I age differently. Slower when I respect the balance, faster when I don't. I learn to shift my form somewhat, more human when needed, more animal when useful. I watch over wolf packs, guide lost hikers away from sacred areas, and work with the other guardians to heal what can be healed. Sometimes humans see me at dusk or dawn. They mistake me for a deer or a wolf or a shadow between trees. Sometimes children see me clearly and point, but adults never believe them. And somewhere out there you're reading this story. You think it's just fiction, just words on a page or screen. But listen carefully to the sounds around you right now. That creak of wood might be more than your house settling. That whisper of leaves outside your window might be saying your name. The forest is always watching, the Antler King is always testing, and there are guardians everywhere waiting to see which world you'll choose to serve. Will you listen to the wisdom that says we are part of nature, not its masters? Or will you continue to believe that humans know best? The choice is yours. But remember, the forest remembers every choice we make, and the Antler King is watching you right now.